When there was an accident, the mine whistle would sound, and miners' wives and families would gather at City Hall or a local drugstore where information on the accident would first be received. The most serious accident was an explosion at the Monarch Mine, January 20th, 1936, in which 10 miners were killed, along with several mules. The bodies of all but one of the miners
Here we go. Good evening and welcome to the November 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. With a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hunt,
Here.
Commissioner Baskett,
Here.
Commissioner Choi,
Here.
Commissioner Brown Eyes,
Here.
Commissioner Moline,
Here.
Commissioner Mahaley.
Here.
Thank you. A motion to approve this evening's agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Looking at a motion to approve the meeting minutes of September 25th meeting.
Second.
We're stuck with roll call still in these. Yeah, roll call.
Approving, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Baskett,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley,
Yes.
Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
I abstained because I was not at the meeting.
okay. Commissioner Choi.
Yes.
Need to abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Commissioner Choi
Yes.
and Commissioner Brown Eyes.
Yes, thank you. And the motion to approve the October 9th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We can do another, we have been doing voice, but yeah, let's do another roll call.
Okay.
Keep it cleaner.
Commissioner Brown Eyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Baskett,
Yes.
Commissioner Choi.
Abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley,
Abstaining.
and Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll now open it up for public comment for items that are not on this evening's agenda. So if you're here for something that's on the agenda, welcome, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Otherwise, if you wanted to speak to something that's not on the agenda this evening, now would be the time. And can somebody check the? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, with that then, we will open up for our first item of new business. I will now open a public hearing on a request for a sign. The purpose of this hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there will be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Then we're going to open it up to the applicant, yeah. Next, we'll have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, who also happens to be on staff, but followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined the meeting in person by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card, which are available on the table outside the door. Use the raise hand function if you're participating by computer or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow 1 person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, table, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your name and city of residence. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing none, do we have notification?
Yes, all public notice requirements have been met.
Thank you. And do we have any Planning Commission disclosures? Seeing none.
Right, good evening, Commissioners. This is Emily Klein Gibson, Planner 2, with the staff presentation. This application is for Resolution 16, Series 2025, recommending approval of the Memory Square Plan Unit Development Amendment Number 1, located at 801 Grant Avenue. This application is requesting approval of a new freestanding sign with an electronic message panel on the Louisville Center for the Arts property, which is located at 801 Grant Avenue. The sign code requires most electronic message signs be reviewed through the PUD process, and this would be the first amendment to the Memory Square Planned Unit Development, or PUD. 801 Grant Avenue is located in Old Town Louisville between Lincoln Avenue to the west and Jefferson Avenue to the east. The property is zoned residential low density, or RL, and includes the Louisville Center for the Arts building, a community pool, and a pool building. The Memory Square PUD was established in 2017 for the construction of the new pool building. The property also borders Memory Square Park, which is located to the east. City sign code was established in 2019, and all new signage is reviewed against this sign code. To provide some background on the Louisville Center for the Arts building, the building is owned by the city and operated by the Cultural Services Department. The building can be rented out to different groups for events like concerts, theater shows, community classes, and meetings. It was locally landmarked in 2005, and the landmark designation was applied to just the building and not the entire property. There was one previous freestanding sign that was about 5.5 feet tall and 7 feet wide that was located on the southeastern corner of the building. However, a storm destroyed both the sign and the tree behind it in 2024. The previous sign had Louisville Center for the Arts printed in light color and the city logo. The proposal tonight includes installing a new freestanding sign for the Center for the Arts. The proposed sign would be 5 feet tall and 7.7 feet wide, and would include a 1.3 by 6 foot electronic panel at the bottom that would display up to 3 lines of light-colored text against a dark background. The top of the sign includes the Louisville Center for the Arts text along with the property address, and the bottom electronic message panel would be only operated by city staff and would be used to display programming information, hours of operation, and emergency communications if deemed necessary. The proposed sign would be located in a similar spot to the previous sign, which is near the southeastern corner of the building. The original sign was about a foot away from the property line. However, to comply with the current sign code, the proposed sign will be set back 8 feet from the property line. It would be angled in a similar manner as the original sign so that pedestrians on the sidewalk and along Spruce Street can view the text. And on the screen here is just a rendering of what that sign could look like on the property. Here's another rendering of what the sign would look like, as well as its location in relation to the overall site, which is shown on the site plan to the right. There are a few sections in the sign code that apply to this proposal. Typically, governmental signs may be exempt from requiring a sign permit unless illumination is used for purposes other than safety, in which case the sign requires additional review. Section 3.4 includes regulations for all electronic message signs with 7 criteria that all electronic message signs must meet. And finally, Section 410A regulates zoning standards like maximum area, setbacks, and height for freestanding signs in residential areas, which staff finds the proposal meets these criteria. So this slide just lists 6 of the 7 relevant electronic message criteria. The 7th and final criteria was regarding existing signage, which does not apply to this application. These criteria include the 1 through 6 criteria on the screen include requirements that the electronic portion be integrated into the overall sign design, that the sign have malfunction display and automatic shut-off abilities. It allows only static messages limited to dissolve or fade transitions, and with transition time and frequency limitations as well. And the criteria also requires that the electronic message lighting does not exceed 0.3 foot candles between dusk to dawn and has automatic dimming software. Staff finds that the electronic panel is integrated into the overall site design, and the proposed sign matches the design of other city signage. Management of the electronic panel messaging will be done by city staff only, and the software program can be used, or to be used for the electronic messaging includes automatic shutoff controls in case of a malfunction. The electronic sign software also includes customizable features allowing further control by city staff to limit the display illumination, transition methods, and transition frequency. Because of this customization, the proposed sign will stay in conformance with the electronic message transition criteria. The software also includes automatic dimming technology, and the message illumination can be adjusted based on time of day or to meet specific zoning requirements. In addition to electronic message signs being limited to 0.3 foot candles between dusk to dawn, there's a section in the sign code, section 3.3, which requires any signs located near residential properties not be illuminated between the hours of 11 p.m. or 30 minutes after the closing time of the building and 7 a.m. And City of Louisville PUD requirements also prohibit light spill outside of property boundaries. This slide just shows current illumination on the property at night. There's one street lamp and several security lights along the perimeter of the building. For reference, each of these lights measure at around 1 to 5 foot candles of illumination. So with all of this, staff recommend approval of Resolution 16, Series 2025 with no conditions. This concludes the staff presentation. The applicant also has a presentation, and we will both be available for questions. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll open it up for questions right now. If we have any. Yes, please, Commissioner Mahaley.
Thank you. So thank you for the example. I was struggling with the foot candle unit of measurement. I'm familiar with other digital signs on schools primarily. Does 0.3 foot candles correlate approximately to what else is in town for a similar type of sign?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know exactly what the foot candles measurement are for other signs in the area.
I would just add that, so the schools are exempt from our zoning regulations, so
Sure.
those were installed without city oversight, so we don't know what
You don't know what the level is. Okay.
Yeah.
A related question. I think the example you gave showed the text in white. Is that the plan, or could the text be changed to red? Something a bit less aggressive.
I'll leave that question to the applicant. I think they can give a better answer for that.
Thank you.
And the other, do you mind?
Please.
Related question. The last thing you had up on the slide said that the requirements were that it not be like illuminated signs be off, after 11 or a half hour after closing. Is that going to be how this sign operates?
Yes, the sign would have to operate under those requirements.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, I can just answer right now to say that we can change the color of the text to whatever Planning Commission and Council recommend. And I will go over the times that we have the sign on in my presentation.
Thank you.
Great. We'll welcome up the applicant then.
Is this audible? Okay. Well, my name is Iris Bolensky, and I'm the Arts and Events Program Manager for the city and the applicant for this PUD amendment. And I was told that I have the fun presentation, so I'll try to be both informative and entertaining. But I wanted to start it off also with some background on the Louisville Center for the Arts. So the Arts Center, as we call it, definitely holds a unique place of importance in Louisville's cultural life. Not only is it a recognized historic building, but it's also the only indoor space that we actually have available for city and public cultural programming. So as you can imagine, it's pretty popular, and it's actually filled with someone and something almost every single day of the year. So that might be hard to believe because the outside is so calm, but my team does manage the rentals for the property. So this year we had 334 days of the year booked, and we're still processing rentals. And next year we already have 312 days of the Arts Center booked, and a lot of those days are not just booked with one organization, but multiple organizations. And that can range from rehearsals to public events, private events. The cultural programs that are hosted in the Arts Center include musical performances, theater performances like in these photos, and art exhibits and art classes. These are some of the visual arts that can be present at the Arts Center. And while some of these programs are organized by the city or sponsored by the city, which means that they have access to city communication networks, the vast majority of them are not being hosted by the city. They're actually being hosted by small local organizations, local art resident organizations, many of whom depend on the Arts Center to exist at all. And they don't have the ability to market their programming through city newsletters and websites. So logically, the result of that is that many residents have no idea how often the Arts Center is booked, or with what extensive programming and what diverse programming the Arts Center is booked. Lots of residents also don't know that they themselves have the ability to rent the Arts Center for whatever it is that they might want to do. And so for us, that poses the question, how do we make the knowledge about this really crucial public service available to local residents who haven't heard about it? And for us, the best answer is the new Arts Center sign. So the message board that we're proposing would perform a great service to the community by providing scheduling information on what is taking place every day at the Arts Center. More broadly, the sign would just inform people that the Arts Center is available as a public space with many different opportunities for how to use it. A sign like this is definitely the most accessible, sustainable, and economic way to let residents know about what programs are happening at the Arts Center. And our hope is that informing passersby about Arts Center programming will allow residents who we know are really hungry for access to the arts and to culture to satisfy that need by learning more about what they're looking for. Even a display that just says rehearsals today or private event today can spark that question for people who then want to know what's being rehearsed and when will the show happen, or how do I get a private event in the Arts Center? And so on the slide, I've just highlighted that it's wide-reaching. You know, you don't need to be online to find out about it. I think the best way for me to sum this up is residents can't know about things that they don't know about. So if you don't know about Coal Creek Theater, it's hard to go online and look up when is Coal Creek Theater's next show. Or if you don't know that there's an Arts Center that you can rent, it's just hard to serendipitously find out about that if there isn't a sign like this. It's all encompassing, so this will be the one location that shows all events that are happening at the Arts Center, not just city events that are happening there. And then, of course, it's also the most sustainable and economical way to inform people about what's going on. Being in events, I know that organizations spend a lot of money to print flyers and signage that they never use again because they never do the same event twice. And for the small organizations that use this building, that can really impact their tiny budget, which they could be using to do something else, like buying props or paying their artists. So we want to keep that in mind as well when we're supporting cultural arts in Louisville. I wanted to show again the design, which is pretty, and which also shows the kind of messaging that would be on the sign, because Cultural Services is highly aware and sensitive of the historical importance of the Arts Center and also of the calm and peaceful nature of Memory Square Park. Memory Square Park is a place where kids go to play and families meet, and we have all sorts of events there, many of which are hosted by my department. So in no way would we want this sign to, be a detriment to that space. It would only enhance what the space is being used for. And in that vein, I know some of these questions were already answered by the staff presentation, But I wanted to assure the commission and residents about some of the things that the sign will do and will not do in plain language. And I'm happy to give this assurance because I will be the staff that will be managing the sign. So some of the things the sign will do will be that it will be on from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the very latest. In this season, when it gets darker earlier, we can obviously turn the sign off earlier as well. The display will only show static text and only have information about the programming that is going on at the Art Center. Like I said, I will be the person managing that messaging. We've already gone over all the sign code regulations and all the criteria related to brightness, movement, and transitions. We will not only be following those, but be doing it in a super conservative way, so we won't have transitions. It'll just be static text. The program that manages the sign does have that dimming function, which will allow the sign to react to its environment. So if it's overcast, the brightness of the sign will decrease. As dusk sets in, the sign will also decrease in brightness. And I know that the program for this signage has way broader capacities than what we will be using it for, but it doesn't have sentience, so it won't go rogue and do something that we haven't programmed it to do. The sign will also be aesthetic and in a design that will correspond to other city signage. And of course, it will serve its primary purpose, which is informing passersby about the diverse programming that's taking place in this unique public space. Conversely, some of the things that the sign will not do is be on from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and likely its off hours will be longer than that. It will not display any abrasive colors for text or background. Again, staff is open to hearing any suggestions from the commission or from council about what colors we should use, etc. There will be no flashing, sliding, spinning, or any other distracting transitions. Definitely no sound or video. We saw the photo of the Art Center as it is now in the evening, and this sign will not contribute to any further light pollution. And we will never change the design or the aesthetic of the sign in a way that would clash with city standards or with the peaceful atmosphere of Memory Square Park. So with all of that said, I just wanted to say that this sign will be a positive addition for a community that really values and seeks out art in Louisville. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll open it up for commissioner questions. Commissioner Basket.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you know what the traffic counts are for the passerby travel?
I wouldn't have a number for how many people pass by, but I know it's one of the more highly trafficked pedestrian areas in downtown Louisville. And I think that a lot of people will learn about what's going on at the Art Center from the sign.
Yes, Commissioner Mahaley.
Thank you. You implied this in your presentation, but just to state it plainly, so the dimming function is automated, and so there's no
Yes.
human in the loop. It will respond to the environment and adjust accordingly?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Additional questions?
Do you know what the actual display technology is of the electronic sign?
I think it was actually mentioned in the staff presentation.
The display technology is called Ignite OPX.
Sorry, not the software, the hardware.
Oh,
Other than that, I don't have any information on that.
we can absolutely provide it though from the signage company. The company that's going to would make the sign, whether it has an electronic message board or not, is called Artcraft Sign Company, and they've made all the other signs around the city.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Yeah, so there's no idea of even how many households might see the sign?
I mean, we could pull up Google Maps that just shows the parallel street where the Art Center is, and I wouldn't imagine that any houses outside of that block would be in direct visual contact with the sign.
Yeah, I was thinking more about passersby. And
No, I don't have
Yeah.
any statistics about how many cars pass by or how many pedestrians pass by, unfortunately.
thank you. Any additional questions?
Just to clarify, it's just a one-sided sign, right?
Yeah,
It
just
wouldn't be
one
anything on
side.
the back?
No.
Okay.
I did have just a couple other questions about the technology, but maybe we don't know some of them. So
I would be happy to provide any like technology information from the sign company itself. I know the functions that one would have in one's control while using the program.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to know just in terms of essentially the visibility range, right? Is it, is it kind of restricted in terms of just a direct viewing angle of the sign, or is it pretty wide angle for it? And
I think that what I would suggest is that if you've driven by Louisville Middle School or any other BBSD school like that, the visibility would be very similar to a sign like that.
Okay. But fully tunable in terms of the color temperature? of the
Everything,
display.
yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Commissioner Moline?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this will be for you or for Planner Klein Gibson, but a question around like historic preservation review of this, or staff review of the sign with respect to that lens, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I can answer that one. So yeah, as I mentioned, the building is landmarked, which requires additional review from the Historic Preservation Commission. However, the whole property itself isn't landmarked, so for this specific application, it hasn't gone through any additional historic preservation review, just because it's not required with this application.
But we did actually ask the Historic Preservation Committee, I'm sorry to interrupt, about we would need to get electricity from the Art Center to the sign. And so we asked them about that connection, which would require another plug-in, and they approved that. So they are aware of the sign. It wouldn't be new to them.
Okay. Aware of the sign, but not necessarily did like a historic preservation review of it. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any idea of operating expense for electricity and carbon impact per year?
I don't have numbers just because I'm not a scientist, or a numbers person. But I know that these signs are incredibly sustainable and efficient energy-wise, which is what, again, Artcraft told us.
And the city doesn't own any electronic signs right now, right? Okay. Thank you. Any additional questions? Yes.
Yeah, it's building off of this, off of that thought, but the sign would be more efficient, sure, in terms of managing it, but do you have any sense for what the time savings would be to actually manage the sign versus just I don't even know what to call it, an old-fashioned sign? Like the signs like the church that has across the street where you're actually going out and putting up messages.
I think the time savings would be enormous. So we schedule the Art Center usually right around this time in October for the year ahead. So right now, like I said, I know over 300 of the days next year what they're going to be used for. So I can put those into the program right now if I wanted to.
Sure, and I guess what I'm really asking is, is it changing every day, the message, or how frequently is this sign to be updated?
It would change based on the programming. So, for instance, Coal Creek Theater sometimes has the Art Center for 2 weeks at a time because they are doing a show there. And in that time, the sign wouldn't change much because it would just say Coal Creek Theater, the play that they're doing, and the dates and times. On days when there are rehearsals every day, it would say rehearsals. So it would just be based on the schedule of the center.
Thank you.
Sorry, just from an operational perspective, is it safe to assume that the preference for a digital sign is for the adaptability on a day-to-day basis, as Commissioner Mahaly just asked about kind of not creating disposable signs, but just being able to, customize your programming and not looking towards a digital sign for a bright projection or?
Yeah. The intention is not at all to be abrasive. I think a lot of other departments actually would approve of this form of messaging. Coal Creek Theater is actually doing a play right now at the Art Center, and they hung their sign on the rose gate. And Parks got in touch with me desperately saying that they must remove it immediately because it could damage the roses and they need to find a new place to put the sign. An electronic messaging board like this would avoid all of those problems because we wouldn't have different organizations trying to go rogue, put signs wherever they can.
Thanks.
On that note, did you look at an alternate of having a place that's designated for individual organizations to put up signs? That would be they would know in advance what size that sign needed to be?
It's an option. I think that this sign, again, cuts down on all of those costs. You don't have to print out. I print out banners to be put around downtown. Those signs can cost hundreds of dollars. And again, if you only have a 2-week-long play, it just feels like it's not worth it when you can program the sign.
I would just add under our sign code too, any of these private organizations aren't eligible technically to put up their own yard signs or anything like that. So I think this would provide more flexibility. And honestly, I think, without a sign like this, Iris could confirm this, but I don't know that we'd be displaying, I don't think we'd have the capacity. We wouldn't be displaying all of the activities because we wouldn't be out there every day, putting in the specific letters. So I think if we don't do this, it's highly likely, if not 100%, that we wouldn't be able to display all the activities that are desired.
Sorry, I have one question I forgot
please.
about. It was mentioned during the staff presentation. What is the proposed method for integration and updating the sign, the digital element of the sign with the city's emergency communication system?
I think that the way that the sign operates is that you basically program it through an app. Our communications team has emergency communication response plans.
Yeah, it wouldn't be automatic. We wouldn't be that fully integrated. A staff member would have to add something to the sign if they wanted to display an emergency message.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'll now open it up for public comment. As we do so, if we can have a motion, we'll call it Addendum 1. Motion to put Addendum 1 on as public comments that we've received.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we invite you up. Please do limit yourself to 3 minutes. We have some timers. Are they working? Yeah, that'll indicate as such. If you want to speak, begin with your full name and whether you're a resident or not. And then we'll let you know who's up. We can start out with that. We'll let you, first 2 people. That's it. Yeah.
All right. First, we'll have J.R. Kettleson, and then after that, Jim Holstel.
Hello, Planning Commissioner members. Thank you so much for your time. I'm J.R. Kettleson. I'm a resident of Louisville. I'm also here tonight. I am the chair of the Cultural Advisory Board as well. So I'm here in that capacity. So I thank you for your service to the city because I know what that takes. I'm here to be a voice for, a positive voice for this sign. I'm in favor of this sign. When I first heard about an electronic sign going in front of the Center for the Arts, I was skeptical. And then I saw the design that Iris's team came up with, and I think it is a good design. I think it's tasteful. I think it will do exactly what Iris says it will do. It will advertise those events that are there. I was not aware that it would be just for events at the Center for the Arts, but if it's a sign that has slow fade and meets the criteria, it could also advertise other events that are happening, like our summer concerts in the park. We talked a little bit about traffic there, and we don't have those exact numbers, but we know in the summer when we're doing things like 4th of July and we're doing things like concerts in the park, there are a lot of people that go by that center because they're going to Memory Square Pool. So I am in favor of this sign. I think there's just all upside to this. I think right now, if you walk by there tonight, there might be a sign there because Coal Creek Theater's doing something. Most nights, even when we're doing our world music series that the city puts on and our one-off events there, like Silent Movie Night, we don't have signage out front that says what's going on. So people are not aware that these things are happening. I also think, I don't know if you want to turn it into advertising at all, but you could let people know that's the space that's available for lease, and it could increase revenue for that space. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm in favor of this sign. I think it'll be a great addition to that space, and I think it'll also be a great addition to the city to advertise what's going on there and to let citizens know that that is a very valuable space. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Then who's on deck?
This is Jim Holstill, and then after that, Connie Pontash.
Yeah, my name is Jim Hollister. I have been a resident actually within visual range of the park that we're speaking of, directly across Jefferson Avenue from it. So I have been there for 23 years. My wife and I and son bought the place 23 years ago. And have been there ever since because it's such a beautiful spot. Part of the thing that makes it so beautiful is the little park. I've seen the trees grow. The grass is looking good every year, better than our yard for the most part. But my main argument against this sign would be it seems purposeful to me. For one thing, in terms of the amount of traffic that goes by, the people that will actually be seeing the sign without making a specific effort to go and see the sign, in my opinion, will be very few. It's only a three-street intersection, one of which is Grant Avenue, which butts against the street that the park is on, and is one block between Spruce and Pine. So there's very little traffic coming in that direction. Other than that, the only street that goes by is Spruce, which heads roughly east-west. And there, frankly, there isn't nearly as much traffic, I think, as many people would expect there to be. I sit on the porch and watch it go by quite often. The utilitarian point of the sign, you know, it strikes me, it's been almost a year, if not longer, since the sign that blew down. The city has not gotten around to repairing that sign that was damaged by a falling tree for close to a year, if not a year. So I see no reason to expect that it makes sense to spend a bunch of money to replace the sign that has never been replaced in the first place with something that's going to require more maintenance, more power, more day-to-day expense and effort. And aesthetically, yeah, it's a small enough sign that it's not going to be too ostentatious. But quite frankly, I don't find it attractive. It looks to me like you might as well be putting it up in front of Kmart or something like that. You know, it's not something that I would expect to see next to a building that was built in the 19th century and has been there for not quite 150 years, I suppose, but it's a piece of Americana as well as Louisville-icana, if that's a word. There is a commemorative posting that's the city has put up right there. It strikes me, it's a foolish idea. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time, as well as aesthetically imposing.
Thank you.
A very definite no.
And next person?
Next person will be Connie Pontash, and then after that, we have Keith Keller.
And we do see about 5 people online, but nobody's raising hands. If you do want to speak, please raise your hand.
am Connie Pontash. My husband, Gerald, and I have lived at 740 Grant Avenue since 1987. This past week, we were all treated to a beautiful display of Aurora Borealis. I wish to talk to you about a different light display. One, however, specifically this one, the permanent display, and arguably less attractive electronic digital sign at the Art Center building. Here is what the proposed sign, as described and shown on the city's published mock-up, would look like. Please imagine it illuminated. The beautiful old schoolhouse, Anno 1894, is one of the few remaining local historic landmarks in Louisville, so its appearance should be protected. An electronic sign is neither appealing, nor does it add anything to the appearance of the building, and it is not era appropriate. The large printed temporary placards that have for years graced the lovely rose trellises of the building to advertise theater productions are creative, artistic, and totally in keeping with the character and age of the building. These old-timey placards are also visible at night from lighting under the eaves of the building, which emit only low levels of light pollution. A digital sign such as the proposed one is none of these things. Adding an electronic advertising sign is also redundant and unnecessary, since the theater and artist organizations utilizing the building already have online presences. I'd wager everyone here has one of these and would find it easy and fast to seek information about these organizations. The proposed sign is in a residential, not a commercial neighborhood. We do not live in a shopping center. No such signs exist in front of shops or restaurants on Main Street. If business owners do not believe adding this type of sign is beneficiary, or if they are prohibited by regulations, why should one be added to the Arts Center? If signs like this are truly effective for informing the public about upcoming events, shouldn't they also be installed in front of the Historical Museum, the Steinbach Pavilion, the Chamber of Commerce, the library, or community park? The 700 block of Grant and Spruce between Lincoln and Jefferson are not major thoroughfares. I live there, I know. Simply installing a larger, electronically lit sign at the dead end of Grant and Spruce would therefore have very little impact. I was told at the open house that the sign would be lit 24/7 year-round, showing the street address even if there were no events at the Arts Center. Our home and several others stand directly across from the proposed sign diagonally. That sign would be visible from our front porches and from all the windows on the front and on my house on the front north and west sides of the house.
Thank you. If we can ask you to wrap it up, please.
Yes, I would definitely oppose approval of this sign.
Thank you very much for your comments.
And if you think this looks
And
ducky here,
next up, please.
we don't know what else they might do with that sign.
Next, we'll have Keith Keller.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Keith Keller. I live at 833 Jefferson Avenue with my wife. And our neighborhood is a very historic neighborhood. Many landmarked homes on Jefferson Avenue as well as Grant Avenue, Lincoln Avenue, including my house. We live directly east of the Arts Center. And I don't feel that an electronic sign would be in standing with all these historic structures. The Arts Center is one of the more prominent structures in our neighborhood, and I'd like to see it remain the way it is. I understand the applicants need to advertise the events going on at the Arts Center, but let's do it in a way that won't detract from the historical nature of the building and our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No more cards? Did anybody else want to speak who was here for the evening? Seeing none. I don't see anybody online raising their hands. All right. Does the applicant wish to address anything raised by the public comment or provide any additional information to the Planning Commission for consideration? This is your closing and response.
There was just one comment about the sign not being replaced for a whole year. I would just say that the reason for that is because we've been in the process of developing the design and getting quotes for this sign. Obviously, we also were scheduled for this planning commission a month ago, and there's just so many different factors that caused the delay for us replacing the sign. It was not our intention to not replace the sign. It's just how long things take. And I think that was the only thing that really bore correcting.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions for the applicant at this time? Seeing none. All right. Do we have a staff response and closing statement?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify one more time that the sign would not be illuminated 24 hours a day. We do have provisions in our sign code that would require the sign be cut off at minimum between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And that's all. Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask just one question? And I apologize about being an engineer about this. You talk about illuminating the sign. That refers to shining a light on it versus having the sign emit its own luminance. Can you just clarify for me?
Yes, the sign will be shut off.
Okay.
And I just want to add one other thing from staff, is that there's minimum requirements in the sign code. There could be further restrictions placed on the PUD. So it doesn't have to be that you have to trust that Iris, with her good intentions, is going to manage it in a particular way. If you feel like it's appropriate to have the sign in the first place and you wanted to have further restrictions to reflect what Iris was saying they intend to do, we could actually regulate that through notes on the PUD if they aren't already there.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing, and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Who would like to begin?
I can start if you want me to.
That'd be great, thanks.
Nobody jump in on this. I want to thank staff for the thoughtful presentation and the applicant as well. It's interesting. I am encouraged by the efforts, I think, and the ability of the technology to be able to make sure that this stays, so it's not like emitting light based on my understanding of the technology, it's not going to be like shining out. It's just going to be sort of I'm familiar with the signs in front of Louisville Middle, or that kind of thing. I'd be in favor potentially of sort of codifying in the PUD those at the 8 p.m. Limitations that the applicant's talking about. I think that's fair, and maybe exploring whether in the evening time, a different color like the red or something that's not. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that stuff, but I'm sensitive to the concerns about light pollution and all that stuff. But I am heartened by the fact that it seems that the 0.3, is it lumens? Candles? Foot candles, sorry, seems far below what the light bulbs on the side of the building are. And so that does give me some comfort. And I do think, I'm also sensitive to the historic nature of the building, but we do have the pool there and other sort of modern structures. And I think there's likely a lot of people going around there. I've seen it in the summer. You see the swim meet days. There's lots of people there. I think, from what I'm hearing and understanding from from our commenter and from the applicant, it does seem like there's a real need to be able to let people know what's happening there. And so, with some limitations to make sure that we're not having too much light shining out there, I would be in favor of this.
Thank you.
Can I just add a couple of comments?
Sure, yeah.
Just in terms of clarification. So the way the application is written, it does indicate that the standard for these electronic messaging signs is 0.3 foot candles above ambient light levels. So to Commissioner Mahaley's question, that photo cell would take care of that dimming, right? And it would maintain that. So it's a progressive luminance that comes from the sign, but it's related to the ambient light levels based on the photo cells that are around there. So at any given time, as the proposal is written and as it would be restricted, right, it kind of maintains what the relative brightness looks like to anybody passing by.
Technology.
And just for context, like code requires that those exit signs are 5 foot candles.
So it's lower than, wow,
And so
okay.
this application is talking about 0.3 foot candles above ambient light levels. So just for context.
Yeah, that's
in
helpful, thank
all
you.
of that. And
I appreciate having an engineer.
And my question earlier was about the color tuning of the actual digital element of the sign. To your point, right, we have those metal halide lamps that are outside the Art Center right now that are that very kind of yellowish, orangey kind of light at night. I like your idea of codifying a requirement for a color temperature of any of the lettering that's there that's not the black, to maybe match the other ambient artificial light sources, so that it would blend in if that's the case and if there's an approval.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't want something that's like blaring out. It needs to be, but it's not, it's my understanding it's not what you're intending it to be. Right.
Yeah, so anyway, those are just a couple comments for consideration as folks are
Additional deliberations, yes. For throwing out comments. I mean, I guess I'm still questioning, like from a business perspective, we would look at the traffic count, we would decide X number of people would see this. And I'm not convinced that there's enough people in Louisville that would see this sign to be aware of what's going on there to achieve the desired impact. So, and then also the neighborhood, it is a relatively unique residential neighborhood location, in my opinion. It's the kind of sign where I would think would be more effective like at the rec center. Not that I'm necessarily for or against it there, but.
Yeah, maybe, do you mind if I
Please.
kind of?
Yeah.
So here's a thought. So are we in the business of, do we put ourselves in the business of regulating the effectiveness of it? Or do we put ourselves in the business of, does it meet our regulations in the code? And I don't know, I would just pose that as a kind of thought exercise for us, maybe just a little bit. I don't know. To me, maybe it would be a question more focused to the applicant on, is this the most effective use of city funds or the best way to reach the intended audience, I guess. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that is in our purview?
So it's a unique condition where the city is requesting the sign itself?
Sure.
As opposed to a business applicant who could be requesting it?
Yeah, but if there's a way to put the applicant perspective in kind of that business category, does that?
I mean, one wonders what the threshold is for effectiveness. If one person learns about it, is that effective?
Right.
Or if that one person learns about it and tells 10 people and those 10 people tell 10 people, is that effective? Or is it, we have to have 100 people or 1,000 people see the sign themselves? Just in terms of.
And to Commissioner Lee's point, that feels a little bit beyond our purview as far as what we're asked to look at. That's kind of a business decision. I tend to agree with you on that.
Yeah, and sorry, I'll just maybe kind of go, if you don't mind, I'll just say just a couple more things. And so for me, I think one of the things that is important for historic preservation is the successful reuse of the buildings. And to me, I wonder if that's where that effectiveness kind of comes in for this. And so anyway, I appreciated the staff's recommendation and the staff's analysis of this issue. And of course, I appreciate everybody's comments on this. And it's for inch, this is a pretty big discussion for what's not a big sign, but I realize in a neighborhood, it's an important consideration. So anyway, those are the things that I'm kind of weighing. And then to me, with the design of the sign, I feel like it has this consistency with some of the other signage that's in the city, in front of the rec center, in front of some of our open space properties and stuff. So to me, it feels like it has that sort of consistency, and the electronic nature of it, the way that it's been portrayed, fits enough there for me. So that's kind of where I'm.
No, I agree. I mean, it's consistent because it is the same design standard that we're using for the other signs.
Yes, yeah.
I have to question though.
Yeah.
There are other for-profit companies near adjacent to residential properties, and I don't know that we would be leaning towards approval of that if that was who was asking for it.
I mean, it's not really public use in that case. In this sense, it is a public, it's a
Right.
public building with public uses. So that makes it a little different in my mind.
Yeah.
It's not commercial advertisement.
But it also sounds to me like the building is not failing commercially.
Yeah.
Per the reported numbers, so.
Right, but it's not, that's the point, it's not commercial use. It's
But the
public.
building is well utilized, apparently.
Yeah.
Commissioner
I,
Haley?
yeah, I mean, I really resonated with Commissioner Moline's comments for a number of reasons I'll get into, but just on one point to address the point that was just made, yet clearly the building's doing well and is being successful and is, I would say, a very good example of successful reuse of a historic building, given the sheer volume of programs that's going through there. I mean, I'm not necessarily an artsy guy, but I've been there a number of times for events. So, and so I really resonated with your comment on the purview of this commission, because I find myself opposed to this, but in terms of actually looking at the criteria and evaluating the criteria, I do agree that it does meet the criteria, but I would argue that there's a massive void in the criteria to take into account historic nature of the building, as well as I think this is the rationale behind some of the requirements are probably on the residential nature of it, but I still think that a existing historic neighborhood adding an electronic sign, there's a massive void in the current code. And while I think it does meet the code, I agree with the city staff's evaluation, there's a massive void, and I find myself conceptually opposed to this, but looking at it as an engineer reading requirements, I agree with the assessment. So that's been my struggle with this one.
So I just want to ask you a question because, I agree, right? A digital element on a historic building that was built 150 years ago are, incongruous. And 150 years ago, we also didn't have any high-density polyethylene slides, right?
Sure.
Outside the front door of the buildings that were built, or, outdoor heated swimming pools. And so I guess going back to that question of thresholds, like, where's the threshold where we're saying they're incompatible uses?
I guess for me, I can look at the building and not see the slides. Whereas if I'm looking at the building and see that, to me, that's, point taken, but that's how I'm, I guess, viewing it. There was a photo of the schoolhouse, right? And that might be the same building, Now imagine that with a digital sign.
Additional deliberations.
I have to echo the comments made about the technical merits of the proposal versus the potential impact to the neighborhood. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood. So I guess I will not be supporting this.
I'm at that same spot. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood either. I don't know that it will accomplish what we wish it would accomplish necessarily. I think there's other ways to get the message out there, especially now. I appreciate that it takes effort by these community groups to rent the place and get their message out of what they're doing when they're performing or having rehearsals or whatever it might tell us on the sign. But they've gotten this far. I feel like that's not a too heavy a burden to rely on them for to continue forward with it. So I don't see that this enhances the city or the neighborhood, or necessarily the programming at the Arts Center. So I'm leaning against it.
And I would add to that, because I agree with you, and I would even go further to say, like, if there is a need for increased community awareness, like, we should be talking about other venues, because I agree with the assessment. I don't think that it's going to have the desired effect. It will always be there for the neighborhood and for the residents, and addressing the downsides of the issues that we just talked about. But I think if the objective is increased awareness, I think we can be having conversations on alternatives that would be more effective, and how we as a community can be supporting that.
So I struggle with this because, like Commissioner Baskett, I wouldn't want to look at this coming out of my front door. And I'm not on this commission or sitting here to bestow my personal desires on the city. That's not why I was put in this seat. That's not why any of us were put on this seat. We were here to kind of look at, the codes, the rules, regulations, interpret the applications, determine from a quasi-judicial perspective whether or not the regulations have been met, or if there are additional requirements that would be put on as conditions for something to meet the intent if they can't meet the letter. So, I struggle with it because I feel like I have a responsibility to say, does it meet the criteria? And it does, to Commissioner Mahaley's point. And, from an engineering perspective, there could be a wooden sign that's painted with, pure white lettering that has a 80-watt light bulb shining right on it that would be brighter than 0.3 foot candles above ambient, conditions, which again, the sign code would allow, and it could be ostensibly more offensive. So I struggle with this a little bit because I think that it meets the requirements. Technically, it is part of, those requirements. If the requirements are deficient, that's a different conversation, from my perspective. And, quite frankly, again, right, from my own perspective, I like the ability of having one more mechanism to communicate anything from an emergency, communication perspective, even if it is a somewhat manual effort for someone to push an update to it. I'm a big fan of public safety. So, and from that perspective, right, in terms of efficacy, one person that could see a public safety notification, that's effective from my perspective. So.
Yeah, and I guess, again here, I think it is a little bit different because it's us choosing to do it or do it not to ourselves, as opposed to if it was a for-profit business requesting the signage on the residential area, it would be a little bit different dynamic, actually. I don't know that our rules kind of go into that aspect of it, but it is something we have to take into account. Any additional?
I mean, one of the things I've been sitting here thinking about is how this is different from, say, the electronic signs that are up in front of all the schools that are often in residential neighborhoods as well, which don't seem to be very intrusive. I know that those aren't, we don't have to permit those because they're exempt, is my understanding, right? But this feels similar to that. And so I guess I'm struggling a little bit with how it's different from that as far as just its propriety of having it in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't see it as being that much different, and I guess, partially that's where our personal opinions do come into play, and I don't know that those are necessarily great. Any additional thoughts anybody wants to put out there?
Yeah, I guess I'll explain my vote. I'm going to be voting no. And so while the criteria as they exist as written, I agree with staff, but, in a situation where I think there's such a massive void in the code for a particular situation, if this was anything else in my personal or professional life, I would stop and reassess that. And so I will be voting no based on that evaluation. That I think we have a pretty big inadequacy that I think we need to address first. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also be voting no based on the location, and I don't know that we need more signs, especially now there's more ways to get information out than ever before in history. And why do we want to bring that upon ourselves for this area of the city? I also don't think it's great to be using that amount of electricity that'll require for 12 hours a day potentially, or more unless you guys don't restrict it. At this point in time, that the payoff isn't there for the use of it personally. And then there's the concerns of the neighborhood. I think they're all very legitimate. So, any other thoughts?
I would be voting yes. Again, I think it is in line with some of the other modern enhancements for the whole park, the whole site. And again, I'm a big advocate, like I said, on December 30th of 2021, it would have been great to have had a message across the bottom of that sign that said, this is the fastest way out of town. Don't head to Pine Street, head to some other location. And that's something that could be pushed from a phone from somebody who's, in a secure location to potentially help a lot of people. So.
Great. Thank you. All right. With that then, anybody else want anything? Yes?
Nope.
No?
I was
Okay.
just going to make a motion.
All right, yes, please.
I move approval of resolution number 16, series 2025, a resolution recommending approval of the Memory Square Planned Unit Development Amendment Number 1.
I would second with a condition that the text on the digital element of the sign be color matched to the most prevalent ambient color temperature.
That is an agreeable recommendation to me.
And I would second with that condition. Oh, yes, and the hours, as Chair Brown Eyes would also add to the amendment.
And what do you want what do you want them restricted to?
Restricted.
Yeah, I would just suggest the ones that were suggested by staff in the staff report.
08 to 20.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second, a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Basket?
No.
Commissioner Choi?
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley?
No.
Commissioner Moline?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
And Commissioner Brown Eyes?
No. This is why we usually have an odd number of people on commissions like this. So in this case, though, the motion does not carry. So our recommendation will go to City Council at the.
So we may need, latest advice from the city attorney is you can't have a tied vote. So I think what we need to do is continue the hearing and have Commissioner Bangs watch the hearing video and then have additional dialogue and vote with an odd number, unfortunately.
News to me.
Yep.
All right.
All right, I move to continue this item until
December 11th.
Is that the right date? December 11th at 6:30 p.m.
To December 11th, 6:30 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you. Okay. New procedures. All right. Thank you all for coming out this evening. We will now move into our second item of business. I will now open the public hearing on a request for a PUD for the Red Tail Ridge wastewater lift station. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there'll be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we will have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined this meeting in person by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card. Use the raise hand function if participating by computer or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow 1 person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, table, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and city of residence. Does anyone participating in the hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing no objections. Do we have notification?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any Planning Commission disclosures? Seeing none, welcome you up for presentation.
All right, good evening again, Commissioners. This is Emily Klein-Gibson with the staff presentation. This application is for Resolution 17, Series 2025, recommending approval of the Red Tail Ridge Lift Station Planned Unit Development, which is located at 1020 Rock Crest Drive. The subject property is located in the southeastern corner of the Red Tail Ridge Filing No. 1 subdivision and is a little less than 1 acre of currently vacant land. The property is part of the ConocoPhillips General Development Plan and is zoned Planned Community Commercial, making the property subject to the Commercial Development Design Standards and Guidelines. The proposed development on the property will serve as a wastewater lift station for the entire Red Tail Ridge area, pumping wastewater from Red Tail Ridge to the Louisville Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is located off Empire Road, for processing and treatment. The new station is necessary to meet the infrastructure needs for future development in Red Tail Ridge. The station will be dedicated to the city of Louisville, and the city will maintain responsibility for operation and maintenance of the property. The proposal includes constructing a 1,031 square foot building which will house the lift station equipment. The proposal also includes an emergency backup generator, transformer, and air handling units that will be screened from view. The site will not be open to the public and will be accessed by city operation and maintenance workers only. A parking lot located to the south of the building is proposed for maintenance vehicles, and an access path consisting of porous pavement is proposed to the north for bypass pump parking and access. A paved trail is proposed to run along the eastern and southern portions of the property and is part of a greater trail system in the Red Tail Ridge area. Access to the property is proposed to be from the future Rock Crest Drive roundabout, with 2 access easements that will be run through Lot 1, Block 3. The proposed access drive is incorporated into the development application for Lot 1, Block 3, which is currently under staff review, so the drive will remain in place and provide access to the subject property once Lot 1, Block 3 is developed. This slide provides a rendering of the north and east elevations of the proposed building. The building includes a mix of metal siding and synthetic stone and features a gabled roof structure. The image to the left shows the stone wall screened area that will be for the air handling units. The screened wall will be 5 to 7 feet tall and will be gated and locked. Windows are proposed on the north and east elevations, and the south elevation is proposed to have 2 metal doors to access the building, as well as 1 roll-up door for vehicle access. And all doors are proposed to have overhead wall-mounted lighting. Here are the proposed south and west elevations, which show the building doors, the gated screen area, and the roll-up door for the vehicles access. Landscaping is also included with this proposal. There are landscaped areas to the north and south of the building and along the proposed pedestrian path. Landscape screening is incorporated into the landscaped areas for the transformer and generator, which are outlined in blue on the landscape plan on the screen here.
The generator will also be screened in an enclosure that will be 7 feet tall and will be painted to match the color of the building. And that enclosure is shown below on the screen. The landscape screening plants will grow to a mature height that will be tall enough to conceal all of the mechanical equipment. Landscaping is also located outside of the property and are included as public improvements with the Red Tail Ridge filing number 1 final subdivision. This additional landscaping will provide a buffer from adjacent streets, but it's not specifically included with this proposal. 2 waivers from commercial development design standards and guidelines are requested for this proposal. One is to allow pre-finished metal siding as an exterior building material, which is currently not allowed to be a primary exterior building material. And the other is to allow light spill outside of property boundaries. The below image shows a light spill outside of the western property boundary into Lot 1, Block 3. The light spill would occur during both normal and emergency lighting conditions, and both of those conditions are shown on the screen here. Staff have provided analysis of each waiver request and finds them to be reasonable for this proposal and for the surrounding area. Although metal material is not permitted as a primary building material in the commercial design standards, staff finds the material to be durable and easy to maintain, and the proposed siding would be painted a brown color, which would provide a complementary color and texture alongside the synthetic stone. Additionally, the metal siding will match the proposed metal roof. For the request to allow light spill outside of property boundaries, staff finds the light levels outside of property boundaries will range from 0.1 to 0.5 foot candles and will encroach a maximum of about 12 feet into the adjacent property. The lighting levels were coordinated with city operations staff to ensure that safe working conditions are met, and the minimum building setback standards ensure that most of the lighting levels will not spill into adjacent buildings that may be developed on the adjacent property. Staff have also provided analysis of each section in the commercial design standards, as well as the final PUD criteria that's listed in section 1728-120 of the municipal code. Full analysis of each of those can be found in the staff report, but staff finds that aside from the waiver requests, the proposal meets all applicable standards. This includes setback and site coverage standards, vehicle access and parking, pedestrian access around the property through that trail system, landscaping and screening standards, and exterior light levels. So with all of this, staff recommend approval of Resolution 17, Series 2025 with no conditions. And this concludes the staff presentation. The applicant does not have a presentation tonight, but is available for questions, as am I. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll open it up for commissioner questions of staff.
Yeah, I just, excuse me, thanks for the presentation, Planner Klein Gibson. I just have the one question, or a question about the landscaping in relation to the trail. My read of the storm water drainage plan was that that there's some potential there for some runoff onto the trail, and I guess I'm just asking the applicant to take a look at that so that that doesn't become an ongoing source of trail maintenance or just material that gets onto the trail that becomes a hazard for trail users. So I would just ask that, I guess. So, yeah.
Noted.
Unless, do you have any updated information or?
No, I don't have any information. I do know our Public Works Department reviewed the drainage plan and they approved of it, but I'll bring this back to their attention. Just
okay.
To let them know.
All right, thank you.
I just had a question, or a couple of questions. Thanks for the presentation. That is literally the nicest looking lift station I've ever seen. Yeah. The generator, does that have a separate fuel tank, or is that a belly tank in terms of what's proposed? And is staff sure that that generator would actually be approved in the severe non-attainment zone that we are in?
I don't have an answer for that right now, but I'm happy to get back to you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
There's no questions? Yeah, we'll get to you in just a minute on that question.
I'm the applicant.
Yeah, okay, in just a moment.
I can answer that question.
Okay, cool, thanks. Well, just one more question for you regarding the light spill. I think it's really important for the city to try to encourage something especially that's going to be city-owned to comply as best as possible with non-adopted dark sky goals. I think that could be achieved easily by lighting from the outside of the property in. I'm wondering if that was discussed with the applicant at all.
Not during any of my discussions with the applicant,
All right.
but I'm happy to make any.
We can ask him more about that in a moment here. So, any additional questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, we welcome you up. Thank you for the presentation.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump the gun there.
No, that's fine. Thanks. Your name?
Oh, I'm Sam Franzen. I'm with Dewberry Engineers. We did the mechanical design of the lift station, so I can answer.
City of your office?
Oh, Denver.
Yeah, thank you. But you're not a Louisville resident, actually.
I am not a Louisville resident.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So the generator does have a belly tank for diesel. It's sized to run it for 24 hours.
Just out of curiosity, what size is the generator? Do we know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I could get that information.
Any additional questions regarding the light spill? If we put a light out, full cutoff, shine it back towards the building?
We can certainly look at that. The light for emergency conditions is on a switch, so it shouldn't be on most of the time. That's just if there's an issue at the lift station, and the operations staff has to be out there with an emergency pump to keep it from overflowing. The other ones we can certainly look at on the west side. We can look at putting those on the screen wall and pointing them back towards the lift station.
Yeah, that would be best practice for certain, especially when it's spilling 12 feet over property line at this point. I would encourage that. Any additional?
And just to confirm, because this is or would be transferred over to the city for ownership of the whole site, right, and the whole lift station facility, that this generator would go onto the city's air emissions permit at the end of the day?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any additional questions for staff for the applicant? So staff feels that we're getting the Cadillac we deserve?
So I would say our Public Works Department has been very involved in the design. So, you know, there's the commercial aesthetic of the building itself, the planning's been involved with, but our Public Works Department has been very involved, including sustainability measures related that are expensive for the applicant because the city's going to own it ultimately. And so there are a lot of kind of upgraded features, I think, knowing that the city is going to own and maintain this into the future.
Great, yeah, actually, that's what I was looking here. Thank you. All right, seeing no additional questions, none, all right. I will now open it for public comment. I don't think we have any written comments on this one. If anybody wants to speak, please limit yourself to 3 minutes. Begin with your full name and city of residence. Seeing no hands online. Nobody in the room? No? Okay. Thank you all. Do we have any closing response and statement from staff and the applicant? Do you have any, for the applicant, do you have any closing response or statement? No? Okay.
Nothing with staff.
All right. Thank you. I will now close the public hearing, and planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Who would like to begin? How about this side this time? Sure. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I find myself in support of this and about ready to make a motion, but I'll wait till I hear from
Okay, great.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very much in support of this at this point, so, yeah.
Double thumbs up.
I'm also in support of it, but I'd like to propose a condition perhaps regarding the light trespass, that be evaluated by Public Works Department to aim to achieve a zero lot
Zero
line.
trespass.
Yeah, zero trespass.
I'm also in support of this application, and I agree with the conditions for the light spill.
Yeah, echoing what's been said, also in support, and like the condition about the light spill, also echoing for the record, Commissioner Choi's, I had the same reaction. That might be the nicest lift station I've ever seen, and I just want to say that's appreciated given its proximity to a highly visible throughway. So thank you.
What they said. I have nothing more to add on this. I'm also
Great.
in support.
Thank you. I believe we have a motion.
Yes, I move approval of resolution number 17, series 2025, a resolution recommending approval of the Red Tail Ridge Lift Station planned unit development with, let's see, I'm just making sure there weren't any other conditions on this, with the condition that would require city staff to look at,
Actually, to zero light trespass.
to require the application to have zero light trespass?
Zero lot line.
Or
So I'd be a little hesitant on that. I just want to talk a little bit about the lights. I do think they're all full cutoff light fixtures. We can certainly look at different designs. I think you're talking about light spill on the west side. Is that correct? So there is an adjacent commercial property though, and the light spill is pretty minimal there. And you know, it's a very narrow lot, I guess I would say. So I think from a dark sky standpoint, light spill isn't as impactful as not having full cutoff or certain color temperature. That's just the spread of the light on the ground.
Right, yeah.
So without knowing if it could be achieved easily while still maintaining appropriate safety lighting, I'm hesitant.
It can be achieved. You
to-
just push
to
it
commit
to
that.
the lot line and shine it back in.
Having a pole on with, okay, so that's your recommended condition, that there's zero, because usually you'd have to, even with a back shielded pole, you'd have to move that pole away from the property boundary because there's still going to be some light spill on the rear of the pole. And I'm not being a photometric expert, I'm just hesitant to say that that could easily be met on this. But it is just your recommended condition, and we can explore it, and if it can be met, it can be met. If it can't be met,
Well, so
we would
I
note
guess-
that when it goes to city
So
council.
I guess the waiver then, or so the condition becomes not granting the waiver for the light. Right, so right now it's a requested waiver?
Yeah, I think your condition is fine. If the commission, if the majority of the commission want to adopt that condition, we will do our best to meet it, and if it can't be met, council will have to consider that, but we'll definitely explore the best options to meet that.
Okay, great, thank you.
oh boy, I'm going to ask you to
Got that.
provide,
We're
okay.
going to let staff get that language. So the
Sorry
condition
to
is that
confuse things.
that there's no waiver for
I think the
light.
condition that there's no light spill, that so I think your condition is that the lighting plan will be amended before the city council hearing to demonstrate no light spill beyond the property boundaries with the revised lighting plan.
Yes, with that condition.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, roll call, please.
Okay. Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Choi,
Yes.
Commissioner Basket,
Yes.
and Commissioner Brown Eyes.
Yes, thank you, the motion carries. Thank you all. We'll take a, let's see, it's 3 minutes till we'll take a break until 8:05. Got about an 8-minute break. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Great, thank you. If I can welcome everybody back. Thank you all. Okay. Guess we gotta open this all up again. I read the script, didn't I? No. Third time tonight, yes. I will now open the public hearing on a request for a planned unit development amendment. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there'll be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we'll have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined the meeting in person by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak in person is asked to complete a speaker card. Use the raise hand function if participating by computer or *9. If calling in by telephone, please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. 2 people present at the meeting may pool their minutes to allow 1 person to speak for up to a total of 6 minutes. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter, may approve with conditions, table, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your name and city, whether you are a Louisville resident or not. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing no objections, do we have notification?
Yes, all notification requirements have been met.
Thank you. And do any Planning Commission members have any disclosures?
Chair, I have a personal conflict that prevents my impartiality, so I will recuse myself for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Yes. Okay, we can open with the staff presentation, please.
All right. Good evening, Chair Bronice, members of the commission. I'm Rob Zucchero, Community Development Director for the city, and I'll be making the staff presentation. So this is a request for a PUD amendment to the Louisville Mill Site redevelopment PUD, as well as a special review use for an outdoor eating and drinking establishment and mobile food court associated with the development plans that are part of the PUD amendment. So I'm going to go through a little bit of background on this. There's an extensive background, and I'm trying to just hit the high-level items. But some of you may know some of this history, but back in 2012, the city actually purchased this property, concerned that it was going to be demolished, the grain elevator specifically, and purchased the property to the north, as well as the grain elevator property for $950,000. And then with the intent of redeveloping it. So they did send out an RFP for a redevelopment partner and originally contracted with Old Town Group to redevelop the property. There was a $2.1 million historic preservation grant that went towards the purchase of the property as well as redevelopment costs. There was an issue with the property to the south at 500 Courtesy Road. There were some encroachment issues and property boundary issues that made that original proposal difficult, and that was eventually abandoned. And the city was able to enter into a new agreement with Louisville Mill Site LLC, which included the property owner to the south, so that helped facilitate resolution of some of those issues. The city sold the property for $200,000, so discounted from the $950,000 purchase price, awarded a $500,000 historic preservation grant, just to stabilize the structure, to make sure that it was reasonably weatherproof and wasn't going to fall down. So there was a significant amount of work done through, I think, 2016 in order to stabilize the structure. There was no agreement for ultimate development or activation of the site, but the city did work with the new ownership group to approve a final subdivision plat, which subdivided all of the properties for development. There was an original planned unit development approved, as well as a special review use. It included finishing restoration of the grain elevator property with a small addition. It included demolishing the property to the north and building a new 3-story commercial structure, and then a building addition on the southern structure. That final plat did establish a no-build area through a conservation easement with the intent of ensuring public view corridors to the historic grain elevator. So that is still in effect. The subdivision plat continues to run with the land. That original PUD development plan has since expired. That original approval also included a special review use for an outdoor eating and drinking establishment, basically an outdoor activity area on the front of the property. There were other approvals in 2015, including a historic preservation alteration certificate. So anytime a historic building is having work done on it, restoration work or a building addition, it has to go through that process. So that was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission for that original development plan. There were a series of agreements for financial assistance with that initial development effort. So through the city and the Urban Renewal District, together there's been about $1.47 million in public investment in this project. So as a lot of you know, a lot in the community are very excited to try to see this development project actually activate the property. So this is the old set of plans, just for reference, that included the demolition of the building on the north and the building addition on the south and so forth. But here we are with the new proposals. So right now, this current PUD amendment and SRU doesn't focus on development of the entire property. So there were 3 development lots and then an outlot A on the front. This new proposal just focuses on Lot 2, which is the grain elevator lot, and then mostly Lot A. There is some development within Lots 1 and 3, primarily for parking and drive aisle improvements and drainage improvements that would facilitate this development. But right now, this is just the first phase of trying to finish the restoration, activate the grain elevator property. There is a small building addition off the back of the grain elevator on the east side, adjacent to the railroad tracks, which we'll talk about more. They are proposing 24 parking spaces. There is a proposal to lease this property once it's developed to the Grainyard LLC. I think I got that name right, I hope. They intend to operate a bar and a mobile food court, outdoor activity area as part of this redevelopment proposal. They would be relocating a historic building, which you can kind of see there in this is oriented looking east, so it'd be in the northwest corner of the property. You can see kind of how the food truck court would be laid out. And there'd be an outdoor stage on the southwest side of that outdoor area as well for music and other things. So this is the general layout of what's being proposed. So of course, there's a PUD site plan within your application that outlines the development proposal. You can see the elevations of the grain elevator. So there is a series of restoration work. Specifically, there is a proposal to restore the front porte cochere as well as the boardwalk, which you can see on these plans, which doesn't exist now, but is part of the historic form of the building. And then there would be what is being called a boxcar addition off the rear, which would just add to the service space for the initial use. So again, any type of outdoor sale of food and drink and activity in those outdoor areas requires a special review use. And so this would be used for that outdoor eating and drinking as well as a food truck court. So this is the first food truck court that we've had at the city when we adopted our food truck regulations a few years ago. We did add this allowance. One of the main benefits of this allowance is that you can have permanent areas for food trucks. If you don't know, if you have a food truck right now, if you're within 150 feet of a brick and mortar restaurant, you have to get their permission every time you want to locate there through your city licensing requirements. This allows a permanent establishment of food truck courts. There actually isn't a restaurant within 150 feet, but if one was to move in the future within that distance, this allows them to operate without constantly having to come in and get permission from adjoining restaurants. There's also other provisions within food truck courts to, ensure that they're properly developed with minimal impact to surrounding area. One of the primary ones is it requires electrical hookups so that the food trucks aren't running generators. Running of generators is prohibited. It allows more activity in the food truck court than a normal food truck that might just locate periodically on different commercial properties or in the right-of-way. Those aren't allowed to have music associated with them, so this is part of a more active area by allowing a food truck court. So within their SRU, as you're probably aware, we often look at different restrictions based on the context of where this development is. So this development is surrounded by residential zoned and developed properties on the east, west, and south sides. So we have worked with the applicant on certain restrictions on the allowed times and when lighting can be turned on and when music would be allowed on the property. So the proposal is that the use of the outdoor areas would be limited to 8 a.m. to midnight. Outdoor amplified music would be limited to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. There are a lot of outdoor decorative lights, so the proposal does include string lights throughout the outdoor area, as well as pole-mounted lights that they're more pedestrian-oriented, but they are pole-mounted along the fence line that surrounds the food truck court. There's stage lighting proposed, as well as lighting for that relocated accessory structure, which would be a tap house, and then lighting, of course, up on the boardwalk. So their proposal is that those outdoor decorative lights, not any safety lights, but the outdoor decorative lights and the stage lights would be turned off after business hours. They're requesting an allowance to have temporary tents allowed up to 60 days within a 6-month period. And I've already talked about the vendor pads and the electrical. So they would have to come in for the building permit. The outdoor food truck courts have to have designated areas for trash as well as the electrical hookups. So that will all be taken care of through a building permit process. So on to the staff analysis. Again, there's much more detail in the staff report, so I'm just going to hit some of the primary elements. But this property is zoned commercial business. It's located in the commercial core transition area of downtown. So this map, you can see the dotted boundary. Everything within that dotted boundary is subject to the design handbook for downtown Louisville. There's 2 different areas with different standards. So the main area that isn't hatched is the commercial core, and it allows a little bit more intense development. The hatched areas is the transition into the residential zones. So this property is in the transition area. So when looking at the design handbook, there are standards and guidelines. Standards have to be met, guidelines, the intent is to meet them if appropriate. So in the staff analysis, we looked at the general standards for all of downtown, the transition area standards, and there are specific standards for historic buildings and developments. So the staff analysis addresses those as well. There's specific parking standards for downtown. The applicant is also requesting waivers from the CB zoning district standards, which I'll go over. I'll get into that no-build easement area to try to explain that a little further, and then the special review use and PUD criteria. So the design book for downtown, again, I think staff pulled out something like maybe 30 different policies that we felt were specifically relevant with staff findings. We do find that there is compliance with the applicable standards and guidelines within the design handbook for all of the categories that I talked about. This redevelopment proposal will activate the area with a pedestrian focus and amenities. So the downtown design handbook has a real strong focus on having development that does activate streetscapes and have public gathering areas. So this does achieve many of those guidelines. There's a lot in the design handbook about how to treat historic structures. So the restoration of the grain elevator building will go to the Historic Preservation Commission. It is meeting all of the requirements for appropriate restoration and preservation of the building, and we've discussed those. And one of the most important things is when you put an addition on a historic building, how you treat that addition. It should be, the least visible possible. It should be subordinate to the main building. So this box, you can't even see it on this image, but on the elevations, you can see how they've made it to look very different from the grain elevator, even though it's attached and it's subordinate and very well screened from most areas of public view. So the parking standards for downtown. So parking in downtown is very different than the rest of the commercial areas of the city. It's very purposely developed, recognizing that we want downtown especially. It's not that we don't want the rest of the city to be pedestrian friendly, but downtown is, with the gridded street network and the buildings that front the streets primarily, it creates a very pedestrian-friendly, walkable environment. We don't want too much parking. We don't want parking that fronts the street. So we have a lot of standards about that. In addition, when development in downtown happens, we have different parking ratios. So in a suburban area, we have a much higher ratio because primarily people are driving to commercial areas in suburban areas. So we have a much higher ratio. In downtown, we have a fairly extensive areas within public parking lots as well as on-street that the public parks. So you don't have to park those properties like you do in the more auto-oriented areas. So we do require one space per 500 square feet of new building area. We also have an exemption for the first 999 square feet of new building area. This is intended to help promote redevelopment in downtown. There's also a lot of exemptions for uninhabitable areas, restrooms, service areas, and restaurants. When you actually add all those up, the net result is there is no parking that would actually be required for this development based on the base parking calculations within downtown. For special review uses, we can consider requiring additional parking. There's a large area for additional public to be at this property. So we did work with the applicant to provide what we thought was in a reasonable amount of spaces considering the site development and constraints. So they are proposing 24 new parking spaces, which you can see in the green area up here. The yellow area is also a fairly large bicycle parking area to serve this development. They also have a shared parking agreement with the adjoining properties to the north and south so that there could be shared parking throughout this development. There's also street parking immediately adjacent to the development, and then the fairly large public parking lot where Lucky Pie and Sweet Cow is also in very close. It's basically kitty corner to this development as well. Yes.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question, Director Zucchero? So the darker green areas on this image, though, those are the food truck.
No, sorry. Yeah, those turn darker green just because there's a darker background for the transparent image. So here, let me get the pointer. I'll point here. So the food truck pads, there's 3 food truck pads. They're not shown very well here. There's probably a better image, but there's 2 pads here and then 1 food truck pad here. So there's 3 designated food truck areas. So this would all be parking for the patrons. There's a row of parking here. There's 3 parking spaces kind of tucked behind. And then this area back here is actually BNSF right-of-way, but the property owners have a lease for the use of that, so there is parking allowed to be developed back there as well.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so within the CB zoning district, there are certain setbacks that would typically have to be met if there aren't waivers provided. So I'll go over each of those waivers. So there is a 30-foot front setback for accessory structures within that zone district. So this is all within kind of that Outlot A area. They're requesting an 8-foot setback for the relocated accessory building, and where there would be a 30-foot setback typically required. For the grain elevator building itself, they are noting a 9-foot 4-inch setback where 10 feet would be required. I'm not sure this needs to be included because it's an existing condition. It's a non-conforming existing condition, but it is listed. And then the proposed addition off the back is 1 foot 4 inches from the back property line where the boxcar addition is proposed. And typically we have a 20-foot setback required within this zone district. Also just noting that the BNSF right-of-way, which is developed through a lease, it kind of extends that property boundary effectively back there, but technically they do need to request that waiver. and then a 44% lot coverage on Lot 2, where 40% maximum is required. That's just Lot 2. I think when you combined out Lot A and Lot 2, it's well below the standard when you look at the whole intended area of the development. So the no-build area, so within the plat, if you saw in the staff report, we had the whole note there. It's a pretty extensive plat note. It actually establishes a conservation easement, and it's called a no-build area. And the intent is, for the most part, there should be no building within that area to preserve those view corridors. It does say that there can be consideration of some development within the no-build area if approved by resolution of City Council. So in staff's analysis of this, we do believe that some limited development could be appropriate as long as there's a finding that those view corridors are materially maintained, even with the proposed development within the no-build areas, and that there's no real impact to the view corridors, and we're still, the public's able to enjoy, the preservation of this historic building. So we did ask the applicant to provide some street pedestrian views so you can get some idea of what we think this will look like with the full development. In staff's analysis, we feel like this is an important aspect of being able to actually facilitate activation of this property. It's a very difficult property to develop. It's very expensive and challenging. It's not like it was a historic occupied building. It was a historic grain elevator. So there's a significant amount of investment and work to actually make it a public place. So having an outdoor activity area like this, in addition to being hopefully a great amenity for the residents, it'll help facilitate reuse and activation of this property. So you can kind of see how, the fence, we're not showing the landscaping, but the fence and the improvements are fairly low slung, and it's fairly transparent as you look through that outdoor area with some minimal improvements. There's the stage here and the outbuilding. So the SRU, so as you know, SRUs, they're conditional uses. They're not uses by right. So Planning Commission and City Council have to find that they're appropriate for the context of the area and that any external impacts are appropriately mitigated. So we did look, again, there's more detailed staff analysis on all of the criteria, but we did note in the staff analysis that this is consistent with comprehensive plan policies for activating downtown and promoting economic activity and stability in downtown. I've already gone over their proposed limitations on hours and music and lighting, which we often have with outdoor SRUs for outdoor eating and drinking establishments. A little bit more on the mobile food court. There are some setback requirements for mobile food court pads from residential areas. It says they have to be at least as far back as the parking setback. In this case, the parking setbacks are 5 feet. So you could, this basically fence line would be 5 feet back, so they're well back behind the 5-foot setback. And then, as we've noted, it is, the proposal does fence in the area with a nice design fence and landscape buffering as well to buffer the food truck court from the adjoining residential area. So PUD criteria, staff does find that it is consistent with the PUD criteria that's in the appendix in the staff report. It's so extensive, we always put it in the appendix, but generally we're finding that it has an appropriate relationship to the surrounding area. It has appropriate building site design, landscaping, pedestrian areas, and connections and buffering, which are all talked about within the PUD criteria. So staff is recommending approval with 2 conditions. And I'm going to talk about a condition that we're recommending be taken out that was in the original staff packet. So one is that the first condition is prior to the City Council hearing, the applicant shall obtain an alteration certificate from the Historic Preservation Commission before they go to City Council, so that when City Council is approving the final design, they'll know the commission has approved that design as well. And that prior to City Council hearing, the applicant shall revise some of the drainage elements. There are some outstanding Public Works comments on drainage. They're technical comments. Staff doesn't believe they'll affect the design, the layout, or anything else of the proposal, but they are still outstanding. And then There was an initial condition number 2, which would require the applicant to submit civil engineering construction plans before City Council. After the packet was published, I did have some further discussions with the city engineer about whether that was really necessary. He felt that this was a very straightforward project from a civil standpoint, and although he initially requested this condition, he felt like it really wasn't necessary. Those civil construction plans would still be required prior to building permit being issued. Those would all have to be reviewed and approved. So we're recommending that condition be stricken. I gave you a revised resolution for consideration. There was one additional public comment that came in after the packet was distributed. That is up on the dais, and I emailed that to you this evening as well. So that ends staff's presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions? Yes.
Is any of the interior space to be used for this?
Yes, yes, the interior of the grain elevator. Absolutely. So when Mr. Hartroff comes up, I think he'll be very happy to explain the inner workings and the plans for the reuse of that property. It is going to be used as a bar, and they're in the packet. There are floor plans to show the layout. I think there's floor plans. There should be to show the layout of the proposed bar interior.
Additional questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Mahaley.
You mentioned make sure I heard it right and read it right. There's a historical building that's being relocated for I think it was the northwest corner.
Yes.
Yeah, where is that coming from?
So it's coming from the Warrenburg Farm, and Mr. Hartroff, there he switched seats. So again, I think he'll have a lot of details about that building as well that he can present.
And I think you said this at one of my questions, which I think you answered in your presentation. I was looking at the plans and I couldn't tell, but there are 3 pads for the food trucks. Did I have? Because the picture shows 2.
Yeah.
But the schematic that was on.
Yeah, the SRU plan should show all 3. I don't. That might be missing. Oh, you can see it here.
I couldn't quite discern the lines for if it was.
You can barely see the line here. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3.
Thank you.
Great. Additional questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much. It's been such a long history on this project. Thank you for bringing us up to speed on that. I'll now invite the applicant up. Applicants. If you can begin with name and.
Come in here and plug in. Should I chat while you're doing that?
Yeah.
Great.
Have a nice.
Hopefully you can hear me okay. Microphone
Well,
here.
so we need to make sure it goes on the microphone for all the other purposes.
Okay, great. My name is Jennifer Fox, and I am one of the members of the new ownership group that has purchased this building. And I grew up in the Boulder County area, and the other members of this ownership group are also all local Louisville residents or business owners. And I happen to own a business that resides on Front Street with 40 people who work for our company and walk past this building, use all the restaurants in this area. And we've been part of the community for a long time. We run the turkey trot past this building for years. I've sat in, Sweet Cow's seating area with my children for years, looking over at this building that was not activated. Everybody's wondering what's happening here. And it's been really exciting, this new ownership group, to be able to share that we're looking at ways to reactivate it and bring this historical building back to life. It was historically a place where people gathered. So they'd bring their grain, they'd come together. It was a community location where people came together, celebrated, and it was part of what built Louisville. And so this really iconic building is sitting there, and so many people in the community, and even outside the community, if I bring this up to people who are in Boulder and other places who come to Sweet Cow, come to, Lucky Pie, they're always wondering what's happening with this building. And so it's been really exciting to be part of an ownership group that wants to reinvigorate that area and bring this building to life in a way that the community can really enjoy. And I know that it's adjacent, as we walk past this building, we see there's housing and people living in this community, and we want this to be a building that people enjoy and they come and spend time at. And we also understand that people are going to live nearby. And I know that the food trucks, that's a new concept in Louisville, and I appreciate what, staff said about the food trucks and the placement of that, and I think it's really important that because there's electricity for these food trucks, they will not be generated. They will not be using generators. And we all know if we've been in a food truck and there's generators, it's really loud. That will not be the case. And so we will be able to have food trucks in their locations without that being a noise issue. The second issue that's been brought to attention and really deserves conversation is sound. We've talked about there being a little stage, and this stage is northeast facing. So it's got a little band shell, but it's not set up for this isn't a concert venue. This is for like ambient music, maybe singer-songwriter, a little bit of music so that people who are outside sitting around a fire pit or throwing, cornhole or whatever, there's music playing. And being respectful and following ordinances and the rules, regulations around that sound. But that band, shell is meant to create a stage and a place for music to be, but not to create a concert venue and to be respectful of sound. The other couple issues that have come up and that were discussed by staff around parking, Mel Beard is going to come up and speak about, and then Eric will come up and do his presentation, which will address lighting and any other questions that you might have. So I really appreciate the time for us as applicants to be able to present to you. Thank you so much, and I will welcome Mel.
Absolutely. Good evening. I want to thank you guys for having us here tonight, and Rob for doing the presentation for us. My name's Mel Beard.
Yes, thank you.
I am a Louisville resident. I've lived here for 13 years. I'm pretty integrated in the community. Not only do I work downtown, but I've also coached numerous swim teams here, so some people may know me in that light. But anyways, I'm here to talk about the parking, and I'm really excited about being part of the revitalization of the mill site. And we know that parking is a concern. And so what we have put together here, apologize for the resolution on it, but to kind of give you a little bit more of a visual about what is going on with the parking in that area and where our building's located. So if you look at it, the yellow spots there are all the 2-hour parking spots in downtown Louisville. The blue, which is the 28, 26 there on Elm and County Road, those are parking spots that are unlimited, but they are on-street parking. And then the green, you'll see are parking lots or off-street parking in general, as behind Azul Fuego and whatnot. And so for us, we have an agreement with our neighbor, Randy, who's here, that we greatly appreciate this, so we can have a shared parking agreement there on the lot, as well as adding the 24 spots. And then we're hoping to also collaborate with the city as well and revitalize from those 20 spots from Azul Fuego down the rail line to add 40 more spots. So that's just a possibility we're hoping for. We cannot promise that, but that is what we're hoping to add, even more than just the 24 that are part of the PUD. As well as that our potential tenant is looking to offer discounts for those that walk and bike and do incentives for those that come without driving and things like that, so we can really drive the community to the building without having to drive and park. So that's what I have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Eric Hartrumpf, 950 Spruce Street, Louisville resident for 40-some years. I'm about a block away from the sign, so glad I got deadlocked. Anyway, let's see. Randy and I have been at this for 12, 13 years now, and there's been a lot of struggle to get to this point, and it's really exciting to be here again. We had that PUD and our plat and our SRU approved previously back in 2000. We submitted in 13 or 14, and then we got it approved, finally passed when we transferred the ownership from the city to Randy and I. So we were Louisville Millsite LLC when we purchased the property, subdivided it. Randy still owns the
the warehouse that's at Lot 1, which is to the south of the mill, is obviously looking west. Lot 3 to the north, Randy and I own where he has his bike shop. And then I'm really happy to have new partners who are going to be developing with me and running the grain yard. And it's always been a struggle with this property to find somebody with the vision and frankly willing to take the risk to go at this to make it a commercial venue that's going to be successful. And I think the grain yard is going to prove to be very successful for Louisville. So we're excited about that. This is the kind of existing conditions. We've done some work to the grain elevator, but as the southern entry to downtown, it really lacks something right now. And I think this being an active development is really going to help to anchor the south end. I think Lucky Pie and Sweet Cow are great. Extending that further down is really going to make a big difference. This is where we started when Randy and I bought it. And this was obviously where it started, early 1900s when it was a grain elevator, and actually functioning up until about the 50s, 60s. And then it actually functioned as just a grain store. You could go in and buy a bag of grain there for a while. If you think about Louisville's history, we had a pretty gnarly town with the industrial uses that we had with the coal mines. I think the grain elevator, was the other part of that industry, our agrarian past, that Louisville doesn't really represent that much anymore, but it really was a big part of what started Louisville. It was the farms and the people who worked around this area, and then the people who worked in the coal mines, and those were the major industries. And this was a major contributor to those industries. When we got under contract with the property, we did a very extensive mitigation. It had been inhabited by animals for decades, and so it was a hazmat project of great proportion, cleaned up. It's a beautiful, I call it this cathedral of wood, because every square inch of that thing is wood inside, and it's just beautiful with the timbers and the wood siding. You see the inside of the wood siding and so forth. So when we started the renovation, we really had to figure out, what we could do to make sure that we could save as much as possible of the historic fabric of that building. And so with the $500,000 grant that we got from the city HPF, the Historic Preservation Fund, we did the renovation. You can see the building is actually being lifted off of the old foundation, and then we had to extend the foundations because the grade had come up and the building had gone down. And so there's a lot of rot and problems with the building. So you can actually see where we reconstructed the stacked plank structure and the grain bins that were rotted out. So we got it to this point. By 2016, we got a grant to repaint the sign from the LRC, which was great. And now we're really looking at how to take it to the next level. So this was the original PUD that Rob had mentioned. And so what I understand is it expired, and yet we're going to amend it. So it sort of lives on. I think the intent of it and some of the parameters that we were working with then are still valid today, but to do anything, we have to update it, and we're doing it sort of lot by lot. So the middle part is what we're looking at right now. And what we're proposing for the grain yard is not a lot different than what we proposed back in 2015. So as Rob mentioned, the landmark part of this is the purple, the grain elevator, the green, blue-green around that, and then all the other colored areas there represent no-build areas. So we were very purposeful in how the site was designed to make sure that we preserved those view corridors. And we actually wrote it into the plat so that the conservation easement rides with the land in that outlot out front. And so the Warmberg Granary is a great little addition to this project. The Warmberg family, everybody is familiar with that name, the open space, the farm to the south. So if you're coming down the hill to come into Front Street, that county road, and you look off to the west, you'll see the little granary sitting down by the creek. It actually got sort of moved in the flood. So here it is. It's this great little structure that we're going to move and restore and use it as a seasonal tap house so that the area outside, that area in front, the grain yard, will have access to the taps without having to go inside the building all the time. So this is our site plan, kind of color-coded to give you an idea of what is planned. Obviously, the building renovation, the addition to the east, which, so north is to the left, east is up, that we call the boxcar addition. That's sitting right where the rail siding used to go through. You can kind of see the remnants of it in the paving over to the right there. And so we thought that it would be appropriate that the addition represented something of the history, even though it's not a historic part of the building, but something that would be appropriate because there was often a rail car sitting there being filled with grain, loading sacks of wheat or whatever. The grain yard out front, we have this activity area that is turf in the southwest corner there, that's green. And we're calling it a stage, but it's really just a platform about 8 to 12 inches off the ground and a fence that goes about 8 feet high behind it. So it's not so much a band shell and a stage as it is a small platform where someone could set up and have a little bit of music and again, just create that ambiance. And you can see the Warmberg Granary down there in the lower left corner. And then I think it's a little more evident here where those food truck pads are actually located in this drawing. And so we talked a little bit about the parking. And so know that the parking on the south and the parking on the north, we're actually proposing to do that in gravel just to make it a little less all paved concrete and asphalt. And that those areas are actually on the neighboring properties. So again, we have a shared parking agreement between our 3 properties. And so we're actually doing these improvements. However, the property is still owned by the neighboring properties, and they can obviously use that as they're using it today. So we're truly going to be sharing those parking spaces. Again, this is our vision for the renovated grain elevator and the grain yard. And I think that Rob did a great job of sort of going through all of the sort of technical aspects of the proposal. So I want to, we are talking about some lighting, outdoor lighting. I think that if you look at the photometrics, I think our average site light level is about 0.1 foot candle. And so it's quite low lighting. It doesn't need to be very high. We do have higher areas where we have pedestrian sidewalks and things like that. As Rob mentioned, there's pole lights that kind of go around the perimeter, but the general light level is pretty low outside. So, and the inside is absolutely vital and activated, and will be renovated. The shaded areas are actual indoor areas that are used, which is probably a little, not even quite half the building. The rest of the building will be back of house, if you will, because that's areas that really are not going to be publicly accessible because of code issues. We would have to do some pretty special stairs and things to get all the way up to the top. We go up there, and it's amazing up there. Bob has been up there, fought off a raccoon one day, and but we can't take the public up there, unfortunately. I will tell you that a dream of ours is to be able to activate the areas beyond where we're making it all code compliant and publicly accessible. And that's going to require a lot more money than what this takes a lot of money to get to where we're going, to take it even further, to take the public through some of these areas, a la the Grain Yard Museum, if you will, is going to take another investment. And so that's not proposed now, but hopefully in the future, we'll be able to show people some of these amazing spaces. This is kind of the main bar area when you walk in the front door, and you can see there's a lot of wood. It's a pretty interesting space. Kind of hanging up in the middle of the bar there is the lift that went from the very sub-basement to the head house at the very top of the tower, and it had a foot brake on it. So that tells us that actually those men would ride up and down on that thing. It's insane, but we found it, and we're gonna put it right back, kind of mid height right there. It's gonna be a cool thing. If you go through the door to beyond there, where that exit sign is, at 6-foot candles, that's the boxcar. So you'd go out into that area. We'll have some seating, but primarily it's going to be where the bathrooms are, and in the basement is the keg coolers and staff areas. These are some more shots from the inside that we'll be able to get a little bit of this. We're going to take them to the basement. And some of this, like that major flywheel there, that's in the basement. And so we've got a seating area down there that's right adjacent to it, and you're going to be able to see that. And we're going to be able to look into the areas where the big conveyor used to go down and pick up the grain. You know those cups? Pick up the grain, take it 50 feet in the air, dump it out into the grain bins. And so we've got some of the equipment still hanging around, but a lot of it was salvaged and gone. So we're going to try to find some and bring it back and restore some of those areas. One thing that I really have to shout out to the Warmbergs, Randy found the old scale that used to be here, the wagon scale. It's actually a piece of equipment with a platform, and the Warmbergs had moved it down to their farm where the big red barn is. And they were actually using it to weigh trucks and so forth. Pigs. Yeah? Pigs. Pigs and whatever. I don't know. They were weighing pigs. But they've donated it back to the grain elevator. And so we're going to, again, if we can get the fundraising that we need, we want to bring all that equipment back and be able to showcase it and have people actually see how this thing worked. I'd love to have that scale work. You know, we could weigh a first grade class and see how much they weigh or something, you know, or a truck of pigs if we had to have one. So that's my presentation. Randy is here. Do you want to make a presentation? So obviously, we're all going to be available for questions at whatever point. So.
Good evening. My name is Randy Crancy. Since everybody's talking about how long they've been in Louisville, I thought I'd throw this in. I'm 6th generation Louisville guy. My grandsons are 8th generation. They all live here. We all live here in Louisville. My mom's family goes back deep. So the Rex Theater was where my great uncle started, and it's now the current Waterloo. That was the Rex Theater back in the day. During this construction that Eric and I put together for the grain elevator, I was extremely involved with the I got to run a Bobcat for almost a year. And it was great. I was very, very involved. And if anybody thinks it's great to go inside that grain elevator when it's under construction like that, it was very challenging. Sometimes we just would have to put a hazmat suit. So it's very expensive to get this to this point. And I'm excited that this is going to come, to an actual development, because I'm supportive. I no longer am involved in the ownership of the Louisville Mill Site LLC. I sold my shares of the Louisville Mill Site LLC to, can I say it? Yeah, to the group. But I really only have had interaction with just one individual, and I just met Mel just the other day. So I don't even know if this is possible, but there's this electrical system on this building, and I know it sounds kind of odd that I'm concerned about it, but it's the only one left in the city of Louisville, and I'm not sure if 544, where the bike shop is, if it's on this, it's called a Delta system. And everything else in town is done as a Y system. Any engineers here that are electrical engineers would understand what I'm talking about. Point is that Xcel never changed out those transformers. Ironically, today, we believe that there was a transformer that blew up in Louisville. Anybody know? Did anybody experience a power outage today? Yeah. It blew me away when that happened, because we were out of power as well. And I said, I said to my son earlier today, I said, if those two transformers blow up, Xcel has to replace those at no charge, and they would replace them with a Y system, which would then upgrade it so that the entire city of Louisville is on this Y system. And the reason I'm so familiar with this, my dad started Louisville Electric in 1947. We did all of downtown, mostly the commercial side of it, and converted with Public Service Company those systems. So that goes back. I'm an electrician by trade as well. This is concerning to me because Xcel is saying we have to upgrade this. We don't know what those costs are. I don't think it should ever be a cost to anybody that's a property owner, because they have an old system in place. As far as I know, they never charged anybody back in the day when we converted all of that. Like I said, I want this project to go. I'm excited about this project. I do own the lease. I do lease the BNSF roadway behind the grain elevator. And Xcel now requires that each property have its own transformer. This could be an impact down the road for us. So what I'm asking for, maybe for consideration, I don't know if it's possible, that is, can we hold out? I don't want to rescind my letter that I signed on last week sometime that allowed this, but I just got hit with this on Saturday, that this could be an impact of cost, because now, in my old days of the electrical business, one transformer could serve multiple properties. Xcel saying, according with Eric, they're telling Eric, it can't happen. You have to have a transformer per each property. So that means that we have to have 3 transformers, 544 front, 540 front, and 500 front. I call it Front Street. I'm sorry, it's County Road, but that's how we've always referred to it. Right now, my underground to feed 500 front, I'm the manager of RCC LLC. That's lot 3, also referred to as a warehouse. But I don't have an easement in that any longer, because when we did all of this development, or all this re-establishing property lines, I don't have an easement in there anymore. I don't know what those impacts could be. I'm having a hard time with this, because this could be, well, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars if Xcel wants to do that. And in 2013, it was $92,000 to bring the pole from the Chavis property to the existing pole on the north side of the grain elevator. It was $92,000 back then to put that as an underground from Excel. At that point, I thought, and I believe it was still there, we would set a transformer, they would feed my 500 front property, they'd feed 544 property, and then they would feed the grain elevator 540. Is it, Rob, I guess this is a question to you. Is it protocol for me to ask staff? No.
I'm not certain how this is going to impact our discussion and
Okay.
decision this evening.
If you aren't sure, then I'll need to resend my letter that was on page 27 as of tonight officially, because I need to understand what these are going to be. If you can't eliminate or take that out and I can't ask staff a question, I understand that.
I'm open to the
No, you
question
should,
at
you
this
said no.
Yeah, no, we're trying to get to.
I understand, it's
ahead.
getting late, I understand, but this is important to me because it's,
So go ahead, we can share the question. We may not be able to answer it.
What's the question?
the question is that existing pole on the north side of the grain elevator, can that be left? In other words, the city requires that those lines be underground. And so I believe that the mill site is going to put that underground. But then that impacts me because then I have to put either a new line in. I don't know if Excel will attach to the existing underground line. And then I will have to put a transformer on my property. Will the city allow that pole to stay in place?
So I don't think I have enough information to understand the whole issue. I think we would want to work with you to try to find a solution to this. So our standards are with new development to underground, but if your property to the north isn't redeveloping, there might be an opportunity, but I don't know where the pole is and if it conflicts with these development plans, so I don't want to overstate, but we would like to work with you to try to find a solution.
A representative of the grain elevator told me that you said you would do that. So now it's might do that. So there's not enough information, I understand. I've been trying to put this together.
But this evening you joined us as part of the applicant team.
No, I didn't.
Let's
Well, I
follow
mean-
procedurally how we were
So
running it here.
from a procedural standpoint, Mr. Harnshoft invited you up to supplement the applicant's presentation rather than public comment. So I think there's some confusion.
Okay.
Again.
Then I will go back on record as a public, I guess, to resend that letter.
Okay.
Is that what I need to do? Give my card to,
Sure, yeah, when we have, well, we're going to be open in public comment briefly here.
yeah.
So,
I don't want to do that.
sure, no, I appreciate it. I think
But
we all appreciate
it doesn't going to leave me a lot of choice if I can't get some clarification, and I understand that it's not going through planning right now. I've run into a lot of problems with planning on anything that I want to do, including this property, because I wanted to develop the mill site myself, but I could never get past planning. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so does that conclude the applicant's presentation?
Just a point of clarification.
Sure, yeah.
So Randy Crancy, as an owner, half owner on the north and a full owner on the south, has signed the application for submittal of this PUD. So he is technically part of the applicant group, I believe.
Yeah, this is correct. Mr. Caranci is part of the applicant group. He is formally an applicant.
Yes, okay. Great. And I appreciate also this issue popped up just recently, and it causes all sorts of problems for you as well, so, thank you. All right, do we have questions, Commissioner questions of the applicant team on any of the issues raised? Yes, Commissioner Mahaley.
So am I understanding the mobile food truck pad correctly, so it has power, but it does not need water or drainage or gray water waste or anything. It's just electric.
That's correct. We don't require that the trucks have plumbing, hard plumbing hooked up to them.
Okay, so yeah, thank you.
For the applicant, from the operational perspective, do you see those being, will they rotate? Will they be different? What's your current vision for how that might operate as to?
So conversations with our tenant and partners, they do see rotation of those trucks. And, I think that a lot of the operational aspects of this are pretty unique in terms of like having local DoorDash running up and down to our local restaurants and bringing it back to the site for patrons, and the food trucks rotating out. So I think, the idea is that the variety continues to change over time. You'll have a lot of things to choose from, and so I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, I'm just making sure from like a infrastructure standpoint, it's just electric. It's not
That's
anything
true.
else. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we do have plumbing in the seasonal tap house. So they'd be able to, fill a water bucket or something like that, but there's no permanent plumbing to them.
So there's no questions for the applicant team. We have presentations regarding parking and other view shed, I think. Anybody having questions regarding that? No? All right. Seeing none then, I'll now open it up for public comment. We have one public comment we'd like to enter into the record from a Mr. Ingram, I believe. As we open up public comment, motion to add that, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So if you'd like to speak, welcome up. Please limit yourself to 3 minutes. Begin with your name and city of residence. Do you have names? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few cards. Randy Caranci, and then after that, Tom Horst.
Randy Caranci, 441 Elk Trail, Lafayette, Colorado. I also own E-Bike of Colorado in downtown Louisville. And this pains me to do this because I don't believe I signed the letter that was on 544 County Road that's in the packet. I believe it's page 26. I did sign the letter on page 27, which represents RCC. I own half of 544 County Road, and I own 100% of, RCC LLC owns 100% of 500 Front. I'm the manager. We're managers of LLCs.
So question regarding this procedurally. So this is not a withdrawal of the application, right?
No, I'm not asking to withdraw the application. I'm asking that it be put on hold until I can get an answer to these costs that are going to be impacted. If I'm not an applicant, I guess I was part of the applicant because they're going to use my parking at 500 Front and 544 Front. So I'm not exactly sure what to do. I don't know the procedure. This should not blindside anybody. I sent an email and I had conversations with both Caleb and Eric this week and Saturday. So this is not something that they weren't aware of. I just asked them to get me some clarification. Let's meet with Excel. That didn't happen. I did meet with Caleb, and that was very productive, I might add. And I think he's working very hard to try to resolve this, but I don't know what to do at this point. If I sign off on this, because Eric always says, refer back to our agreement that you signed even back in 2013. So instead of trying to explain that through, Eric just says, refer back to our agreement. Caleb wants to work it out, and I want to work it out with him. But I don't know what to do at this point I just ask him to put it on hold until we can get these issues resolved. And since this is public comment, I got 30 seconds left. I don't, like I said, it pains me to go here because I want this project to go. I want small business. I'm a strong proponent of small business. Been around the community in a long time, and I watched this grain elevator deteriorate to no end, and we did work hard to get it in the condition that it was in. It needs painted. But anyway, I'm going to resend my letter that is on page 27. And even though I didn't sign it, I should have signed the letter on page 26 as well. So I rescind them both.
Thank you. Mr. Hartwell, please, yeah, if you can shed a little bit more light on electrical project.
So we've been working with Excel, trying to get information on this for quite some time now, and Excel does not move fast. We originally, Randy and I, understood that we could put one transformer on the grain elevator site, and it would serve the grain elevator and it would serve Randy's, because his power line goes right through the grain elevator site and over to across the railroad easement down to his building. And so we always planned on doing that, and we were in conversations with them in 2015 about that. So now, apparently, the rules are that everybody has to have their own transformer, so they've got to bring an XL line to the grain elevator and then an XL line to Randy's building, according to the, I'm trying to talk to different people because the rep that we're talking to has been very unhelpful. And we'd also like to engage the city with this conversation, because Randy's right. There's been a lot of these old transformers that have been replaced by XL, but not over there. So now it's on us. Now, the agreement that I keep referring to with Randy is that the owners of the grain elevator and Outlot A have agreed to upfront all the costs for this development. And that means that if we're going to pave anything on Lot 1 or Lot 3 or on the railroad easement, we're paying for that. Now, there's a sharing cost down the road if those lots develop in the future. And we worked all this out, earlier this year. And so we're saying that, okay, if XL makes us put in 2 transformers and, run all of this new cable just to get rid of that pole, then we're going to be responsible for that per that agreement. So then the discussion that we had was, well, hey, what if we just left the pole? Randy says he's fine with his service the way it is. So that's something we're exploring with XL. And I believe that, again, I haven't talked to the engineer, it's third party through this salesperson, but I believe that as long as we don't touch Randy's service, we can leave the existing service as is. Now, that means that half of it's overhead. I could show you on our site plan. Just to the north of the mill is where that.
I guess one of the big questions is, does this impact your desire to move forward with the hearing this evening?
Not at all. We have been trying to work this out with Randy, and apparently not to his satisfaction, so that's why he's here tonight. If there's a condition that we're required to work out this XL issue with the neighboring property owners, more than happy to carry that on and solve it, so that we can move forward.
Thank you, yeah. Director Zagarra, please.
So I think we need to address some procedural issues here based on the statements that were made. So Mr. Crancy he's an applicant. He's required to be a signature to the application as well as the PUD. So as the owner of the southern lot, because there's development taking place on the lots that he owns. So I just want to bring up a few things. This is just the Planning Commission meeting. Nothing can get approved or recorded without Mr. Crancy's signature. Like, nothing can happen on these properties. So we understand there's a difficult issue that has arisen that needs to be solved to his satisfaction. There's no doubt about that. However, having somebody on the record saying that they've rescinded their authorization for this application to proceed, who is a necessary signature on the application, is an issue. So I would just raise the question, knowing maybe back to Mr. Crancy in that, based on your statement, I don't think the application can proceed tonight. However, if you were willing to have your concerns on the record and know that we all need to address them, the city, the other owners, and that this application, there's no way for this to proceed and be recorded and approved without your authorization. So there's no risk in moving forward with this hearing from that standpoint. However, based on your statement, unless you clarify that you're willing for this hearing to move forward with your authorization, we really can't move forward.
So, yeah, Mr. Caranci, yeah, we'll need to, again, break with procedure here, but that's something we're going to.
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Yeah, we need your input on this.
So I will hold you to that, Rob, because it's on public record. Like I said, I want to see this proceed, but I don't want to have to, if this doesn't pan out the way that I want it to pan out or the way that I believe it should, I don't have to get a lawyer to do it.
I would just add, if it helps also, this is the Planning Commission hearing. This would have to go to City Council. If you post this hearing, if you weren't satisfied, you could submit a letter to the city and say you've withdrawn your authorization.
Okay.
We would not be able to proceed to City Council with that hearing, in addition to the fact that you would have to sign everything on the PUD. So there's no danger of this development going forward as proposed without your authorization. But we can't proceed with this hearing if you don't clarify that you're willing to at least allow this hearing to proceed.
For the record, I will allow this proceeding to proceed. That doesn't make sense, but I do, yeah, I want to see it go forward. I just have concerns.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Jumping back in, we have 2 hands raised on public comment online. If we can recognize Mr. Oberholzer, we will be unmuting you here momentarily. All right, you should.
Hi there.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
All right. My name's Mark Oberholzer. I live at 224 Hoover Avenue here in Louisville. I also own Tilt Pinball and the Louisville Underground and Rocket Dogs, which is just a stone's throw from this project. I am also the vice president of the Downtown Business Association. And I wanted to just offer my support tonight for this project. I think from a business standpoint, it's very important. From a personal standpoint, I'm very excited about it. I think the more gathering spaces we have in downtown, the better. And I think it stretches downtown in a new direction. And I just think this is all moving in the right direction. I think it's all very good. Personally, I love the history of the building, and I love the fact that something exciting and community-driven is being done with this space. So I appreciate your time, but wanted to offer my heartfelt support for this project.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Somebody whose name is listed as Mike online, if you can identify yourself after we unmute you here. There we go. Almost.
Hello.
Hello. Your name?
Hi, Mike.
Yes.
Yep. Sorry, Mike Kransdorf. I'm not a resident. I'm one of the owners of Pine Street Plaza, across the tracks to the northeast of this property, corner of Pine Street and Hart 42. Mountain High Appliance, Nature Lab, fits some vacant land. Passing on the transformer issue, I'm very much in favor of this proposal. This property has sat idle for far too long, and this appears to finally be a viable development proposal. As Mark just said, anything that activates downtown south of Lucky Pie is good for all of downtown. I'm also excited to see a test of the mobile food court ordinances. That was years ago, and no one's taken advantage of it. This does. I think that's just great. And speaking of tests of ordinances, I want Eric to have the scale to weigh witches and swans instead of brains and pigs. So, in summary, this is something of a litmus test of, moving forward, resisting change. It would really be a shame to let this opportunity go. I encourage you to approve it. This is wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for hanging out into the meeting. All right, I don't see any more hands raised online. We don't have more speaker cards, yes? Thank you.
Tom Horst,
And who's after him?
Sally Baker. And
Great,
those are the last.
thanks.
I'm Tom Horst. I'm not a resident. I live in the mountains, but I spend most of my time in Louisville. I own Crystal Spring Brewing Company, which we have our brewery is located out in the tech center, and I have a tap room on Main and Elm, so it's just a block west of where this is going to be. I'd like to look at that. I grew up across the street from grain elevators. My dad had a gas station, so I'm familiar with them somewhat. And they were built for one thing, to hold grain. And so that makes it a very difficult project to try to turn it into a viable business. And I'm very excited about it, what they've come up with. And it is time to do something with this building. It's sat there, as Mike said, far too long. And I think it will increase business downtown. Anytime we have something new or just another business that draws people, it's like the thing that the tide that floats all boats. It'll increase business for everybody downtown. I'm also I'm on the board of directors for the Downtown Business Association, former member of the Chamber of Commerce, been very involved in that, and I'm very concerned about all the empty buildings downtown. And just seeing this get started, that's something that's really exciting. And I think that it'll attract families. We have a lot of families. We have families that come to our place and their dogs and all that. And with that area, we need more space like that where people can come together and talk and enjoy themselves. So I would say I'm very, very much in favor of it, and I would urge you to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Sally Baker, and then after that, Bob M. I'm sorry, I can't read the last name.
Hi, I'm Sally Baker, and I live in Louisville at Parboy's Place, right across from the proposed this. We moved there to one of those townhomes 3 years ago because Louisville is so vibrant and we wanted to be right in the midst of the downtown. I hope that these people will be as polite as Crystal Springs is. I mean, we love Crystal Springs.
But we need to make sure you get into the microphone.
Oh.
So people can hear you.
Okay, I hope that this development will be as polite as Crystal Springs has been, because they are so nice to people around there, and we all take advantage of it, and I would love to take advantage of this. My main concern for being here tonight was the lighting, the noise, and the times. But if it's the same proposal as we have with Crystal Springs, then I really don't have a problem with it. I look at this every single day out my upstairs windows, and I love this building. I have since we moved there. And I am really happy that somebody's gonna do something with it. I'm not nuts about food trucks, but you know what? I think it'll work. But once again, I came to be informed. I was informed. And I would definitely say vote for this because we need this downtown. Downtown is dying. And it makes me sad because when we moved here, it seemed to be on an up and up. And I realized that COVID happened and that was a real downer, but hopefully we can get it back on track. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, and after Bob will be Eric Reed.
Good evening, Planning Commissioner and staff. I'm Bob Muckle, 1101 Lincoln Avenue. I'm a doctor in my day job, so that's why you can't read my writing. I have a particular love of this structure, the grain elevator. I was extensively involved in the original purchase. I have walked through it before and after the cleaning with the mill site people. I think it's a terrific use of the Historic Preservation Fund to support the restoration of amongst the most historic buildings in town. So I'm really, I always say there's no better way to preserve a building than to have a vibrant, active use. I mean, I thought that way about historic houses. Better to have people live in them than try to figure out how to save them otherwise. So this activity is really exciting to me because it'll be good for the preservation, and it'll, of course, I agree with everything people have said. It'll be great for activating that part of town. It'll be great for downtown in general, and it'll be exciting that we have given a new life, a second life to this amazing historic structure. So thanks very much for your time, and I encourage you to approve the application this evening.
Thank you.
And Eric.
Hello, Eric Reed, 1001 Rex Street. I have a list of other things. I'm the owner of Acme Fine Goods here in Old Town Louisville for the last 6.5 years. I'm the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Louisville, soon to be president in January. I sit on the Downtown Business Association board as well. Father and resident 10 years if we're bragging about how long we've been here. As a guy who loves a little bit of procedure, I just kind of want to go back to something that a gentleman who sits on the commission is no longer sitting here at the moment, talked about the fact that there are rules that you guys are here for, and you are there to see if they qualify. Staff has recommended this process, and so I would just go ahead and stick with staff. They're smart people, good people, and they expect the best from the developments here in town. I've seen that over the last many years. We can see a couple things that are happening in here, and we've kind of lost it in the sauce over the last couple hours. We have, additional 24 parking spaces that are being added that are not required, so much appreciated for that. I happen to live right around the corner, so I can walk right by this building and have for the last 10 years living in this neighborhood. I am very excited to see activation in this space. I actually attend the gym that is adjacent in the building that is owned by the person within the applicant. I just want to say that seeing a utilized historic building is the best type of historic building. One that has been labeled and is empty is not doing any of us any good, and certainly not helping the downtown businesses. I appreciate outdoor spaces, so third spaces where families can come, be outside, use the weather that we have. I don't know if anyone made it outside today, but welcome to November. We also have the fact that someone is willing and able and doing so to invest in a property here in town that will benefit all of us. Obviously, you have a neighbor that's right across the street that understands that there are worries, and that is lighting and sound, but it's been dealt with and addressed. And I appreciate that very, very much as a person who is involved with the street fair as well. And I just want to say, as a resident, I look forward to having something to walk back to. Pinball used to be in the building that is now the bike shop. I appreciate that that business is there, and I love the fact that we have active business owners involved. I just want to make sure that we can stand behind and help and support the people who are coming in to put investment and to continue growing Louisville. People talk about the kind of vibrancy, and that comes from people's investment and their time and energy in Old Town. All of Louisville is a bigger place. There's CTC, McCaslin, and South Boulder. All of those places have people putting in the effort. I just want to make sure that this opportunity is not lost when we have it right in front of us. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Do you have any additional cards? No? All right. You'd like to speak? Yeah. If we can make sure you get a card to staff after you're done. Afterwards, yeah. If you can start with your name and whether you're a Louisville resident or not.
Yep, my name is Travis Ramos. I'm a Louisville resident, and we own the rail yard at 1155 Pine, where we place the Louisville caboose and a C&S Colorado Southern boxcar that looks just like the one you guys plan to emulate on the side of the grain elevator there. It literally would have probably gone right by the elevator, so it's cool to see. Something that Eric mentioned, it's not off. You said the words you said, I think, were it's not often you find someone with the vision and willing to take the risk to do something like this. And it made me think, is that once in a generation? Is it once in 50 years that someone comes along? I don't know the last time the grain elevator was activated or used in any way, but it's been a long, long time. And so, as many of you know, we tried and recently failed with the rail yard to create something historic and unique that's similar in many ways to this proposed project. The tracks that we laid at one point, over 100 years ago, connected the grain yard from the Acme mine, which Louisville was essentially built on, through our property out to the Rex mines number 1 and 2. And I had hoped with, this Space Active, with the grain elevator, our Space Active, sort of in tandem, and the history that they share, to really create something unique alongside, each other that would elevate our downtown area and experience. So while our project is no longer happening, the lesson that I learned, or at least one of them, is that these sorts of projects and the people that invest their time and energy and effort and money into them, they don't come along often. Generation, 50 years, who knows? And the battles that these people fight, this is perhaps one considered. I've been there with trying to do what we tried to do. They're very hard-fought battles. It takes a lot of emotional energy, not to mention all the finances, all the other things. And so what I want to say is, as our city grows, if we want our city and our downtown area to have character, to be vibrant, unique, and to grow in a way that we don't lose our history, the history that made this community what it is, we need to rally and get behind projects like these when they come along, because they don't come along often. And because if, people like me, Louisville people like you all, the ownership group, not the T-Bows and the big developers, we will stop trying if our city and community can't get behind these kind of projects when they come up. And where does that leave Louisville in 5, 10, 15 years? It's not going to be Louisville people that are going to be doing this stuff. It's going to be these big developers that'll own all this stuff. So this project is such a huge win for Louisville, for downtown. Like many others have said, it honors our history, it creates an amazing space, and I'd like to strongly voice my support for it. And I hope to see our town rally behind it as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Excuse me, the cards are on the table outside of the door there. If you can fill out the speaker cards, we get that for staff. All right, seeing no additional public comment, we'll invite the applicant up for a response and closing statement.
Well, just, suffice it to say, it's been a long time coming. I'm just really happy to be here. I am confident that we can work things out with Randy and Excel, and, we'll be able to move this forward to council. It's what we have to do, what we've been trying to do. So thanks for listening to us, and I can't wait to hear the deliberation. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Great, thank you. Do we have any additional questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. And then staff response and closing statement.
Nothing further from staff. Thank you.
Further. Okay, thank you. I will now close the public hearing, and planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. Excuse me. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Where are we at? My left, well, there's more of you over here. Who would like to begin?
Sure, I'll throw it in. I'm very much in favor for this. The conditions that were outlined in the very thorough staff report, I have no issues with. I think the setbacks, law coverage, I think it's well thought out. I really appreciate the extra parking. That was one concern I had, and the fact that it wasn't required, but they have, I think, wisely added 24 spots with plans for more, I think really enhances the application. I'm very much in support of this.
Great, thank you.
Sure, I can go next. I want to thank staff for a really thorough application or analysis, and the applicant for really great presentation. I really appreciated the historical pictures and all that stuff. And I also want to commend. I'm really excited about this project to see the local involvement and the local backing of this. I take the last public comment kind of point very seriously that it feels like a really organic and local project, and I really appreciate that aspect of it. As since we're talking about how long we've lived here as a 30-year Louisville resident, I'm watched the up and the downs and the in-betweens, and this is a really exciting opportunity, I think, to make great use of this building, and it's such a thoughtful and well put together project, and so I will be in favor.
Thank you.
I think it's a great project. I appreciate the local ownership, the local investment in this. It's going to make the difference because you're here and you're going to see it through. So I will be voting in support of this project.
Yeah, I will be too, and kudos to everyone for kind of working through this. It seems like a good team effort, a community effort, and sort of to that end for me, this is the having sat on the Planning Commission for a little while now and seeing this site come before us once and at least once before, it really is sort of a crown jewel. And one of the things that's been really touching about tonight is to see all of you from especially the Old Town, downtown community kind of come up and sort of shine that jewel that we have here. And so that's just been really touching to see every one of you come up here and talk about how important this site is. And so I'm really excited to see this happen. And yeah, I just can't wait to get it. Hurry up and get it approved, and get your few issues resolved and get this thing going. So, yeah, thank you very much for getting this in front of us.
I'm also in favor of the project as is. It has been a long time in the coming, probably 60+ years since the site was last actively used for, well, more than just storage. And also a tip of the hat to former city leaders, because this could have been torn down. It would have been cheaper, right? We all know that. So I think we're really lucky that it's still here, and that we are in a position where hopefully we'll be able to get something out of it this time around. So with that, I would entertain a motion. This is a big one. Who wants it? Yeah.
I'll move resolution number 18, series 2025, a resolution recommending approval of a planned unit development amendment and special review use to allow construction of a 728 square foot addition to an existing building to establish outdoor dining and outdoor commercial amusement uses with a bar and restaurant located at 947 Pine Street.
And do we have a second?
Second, yeah.
Hold on, wrong one.
Condition
With
Wrong
with two
motion?
conditions.
With the condition. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that sounds like the Birdie Bar.
That's what you got here.
Oh, I must have printed the wrong one. Sorry. Let me get you the right one.
You want to pull up the correct?
Yeah.
I was saying 947 Pine Street, and I got to the very end there.
I apologize for that.
So it's resolution 18, series 2025.
Yeah.
For a planned unit development amendment request for an outdoor eating and drinking establishment and mobile food court at 500 through 544 Front Street.
Yes, thank you. That must have been an old whereas clause that we did not get out of there. I apologize for that.
Two conditions.
With the two
striking
conditions.
Yes, with the two conditions as currently.
As
proposed.
amended.
Yeah, the conditions are correct on the sheet, I believe.
Yes, on the one we have in front of us now. Yes. All right. And we had a second? Commissioner Mullane?
Second.
Okay. Or Commissioner Mahay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brown Eyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Basket,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahaley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
and Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Motion carries. We're excited. Thank you. All right, if we have any planning commission comments as we wrap it up this evening, anything? Sorry, actually, we have to wrap up our meeting. If we can take, sorry to interrupt, folks, if we can take the comments outside We have to continue our meeting. If you can discuss it outside. Thanks. Any planning commission comments? Staff comments? I did have one comment. So it mentioned the possibility of an overflow meeting in December. That's Christmas Day. There's no
Yeah, I think we were going to poll for other meeting dates potentially, so Jeff Hurt was going to get a hold of you if we needed an overflow meeting. I think we might, but it certainly wouldn't be on Christmas Day. We'd have to come up with a different time. So we did continue one item to December 11th, which is your regular meeting date. We are hoping to have a new draft of the comprehensive plan for you all to review. Just to give you an update, we're trying to get, we had to revise the comprehensive plan draft based on feedback and so forth, and we're trying to get a draft out and have you all review it first in December, and then we're going to go out to the public and city council in January for additional feedback before we start the adoption process. So that December 11th, I know we'll have to add the continued meeting to December 11th. And then we'll have we hope to have the comprehensive plan discussion. So I just wanted to let you know about that, as well as a few other items. If we have to have an overflow meeting, we'll poll for potential dates.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
With regard to the comprehensive plan, will we be seeing the whole draft of the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
We're going to get it on a Friday and we're going to meet on a Thursday.
We'll try to get it to you early, and if it takes more than one meeting, we'll go, and if you don't have enough time,
And a red line version.
we are trying to whittle it down from like 120 pages to 60 or 80.
Okay, that's not too burdensome.
Yeah, lots of pictures.
Make it easy for us. Okay, thank you. With a motion to adjourn would wrap us up. So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.